Anyways, trying to pull one over on us. I can see when we're live.
Oh man, it tells me it was trying to.
Hang on, I might get some feedback here. Let me. There we go.
I don't think we did anything crazy. Ryan Romano, right on it. He is here.
He's ready.
He is ready to go.
Let's do this.
Hashtag NWA fan. Yeah. I was trying to create a Facebook post real quick. Once I got the address.
I got the tweet. Ryan, how's it going tonight, good friend? Hope you're well.
That's a good ice cream sandwich, man.
I've never had a bad one, so
we're gonna start every episode off with a Rob Stinson ice cream sandwich review.
Yeah.
I think that's what we should do.
Last two we have.
Yeah. Was it ice cream sandwich last time?
Yeah, you had one.
Okay, I thought it might have been a Nutty Buddy or something.
You got Nutty Buddies too? God,
Man, I got those, dream bars. I got those real intimidating ones. I got the strawberry cookie crumbs.
Can't hide money.
Ooh.
Piper, I was going to say Piper. Is Piper and Tanya, and I guess Petra probably doesn't care. Are their impressions better or worse of us now that they've met us in person?
Better for Natalia and Will and Jen.
Yeah. Okay.
No, man. They
set us up
they had a great time, man. It was there. They of course, my you know, I mean, I felt I already knew you. I just hadn't seen you, so
yeah.
But yeah, man, just I didn't expect you to be 4'8", man. That's the only thing that threw me off. We were walking down there, and I thought, no, that can't be Gary. Gary's taller.
He's gonna keep selling that one.
I did, man.
What's up, WWE front row?
The night before the summit, man, I had a dream that I walked out, man, and Gary walked up and like came up to like my nose. Like, hey, dude, that's surprising. You just had that camera really close, I guess, on Zoom. So kind of like on hot tags the other day. That was the funniest thing. But it like,
yeah. Well, that's the day before Jay Cal and I did like a little teaser video, and I thought I was framed up all right. Like, I don't know if y'all have ever done Instagram Live, but it's like, you know, it'll look like I look right now. And then when I went back and watched it, man, it was like freaking. And Jay Cal looked all nice, and he was back away, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna take like 3 steps back. So I fixed it.
Yeah, if you haven't had a chance to watch the Alliance Blogs pre-party today, go back and do it. I think you should be able to get it tomorrow. Great show. Great college level instruction and education on what we call the wilderness years. Really, those days around the second and third Adam Pearce title reign. You know, before the whole buyout during the 7 levels of hate. For those who've been watching it, the champ Adam Pearce has been posting a lot of those matches here the last few days. But Jay Cal did a great talk today on some of the title lineage during that era. Again, I've always felt it was one of very, very vibrant period, and I'm hoping that the current NWA momentum will backward project and reflect light on that era, because guys like Adam Pearce and Colt Cabana, Blue Demon, they really need some attention and a lot of credibility for doing some great things for the NWA and in the name of the NWA.
Yeah, it was really cool. He had a bunch of clips and stuff just kind of telling the story of really going into that time period, right? So coming out of TNA,
yeah,
into, you know, the days of Adam Pearce and all those guys you just mentioned. So it's really cool. I mean, for those of us, especially like me, who, I know the history, the pre, the WCW and pre WCW NWA history, but then, I didn't really keep up with anything that happened after that. And it's cool to go back and see and hear, from somebody like J. Cal, who was there, who lived it, those stories, and that, was still thriving, man. There was still a very vibrant audience and storylines and all the things that we love about wrestling. So it's cool to have a guy like J. Cal who can tell those stories. They're not forgotten.
Right. If you go back to Adam Pearce's YouTube channel, the 7 levels of hate documentary is there. It's outstanding. I mean, I've seen parts of it before. My wife and I actually watched it this morning, very early, about 8 to 10. We spent about 2 hours watching it. It's fantastic. I did not know. I've seen J. Cal on a lot of stuff, a lot of like elbow production and high spots, RF video type things, documentaries, and he was on this one as well. But I did not know that his wife was one of the photographers in that particular documentary, and several of the still images that appear came from the J. Cal family. So it was pretty cool. Highly recommend it. And watching that, you're gonna learn a lot from it. I gained a new appreciation for Colt Cabana. Again, I've known about this thing, but them talking about, he makes the comment that when the decision was made to put the belt on him the first time, this is the time when Colt Cabana was really a social media sensation. He had 50,000 followers on Twitter at a time when the NWA only had about 500. And even fewer YouTube subscribers and stuff like that. Even if I don't even know if they had a YouTube channel back then, but his the plan was for him to go and tour Japan and really elevate the company, and he did that to the extent that he could. But there was some backroom shenanigans and really some bad decision making that robbed Colt Cabana what would have been a great title reign. But it's really quite a documentary. So I definitely encourage you. It's just called. You can go to Adam Pearce's YouTube channel and just search 7 levels of hate, and it's about 2 hours and 15 minutes or something like that. It's really, really outstanding.
Follow to him to be able to put all that in the past and come back and do what he's doing now or has done, with the NWA after the change in leadership, I guess. But just he could have been much more bitter about that, I think.
Yeah. Other thing of notes while we're getting stuff prepped here is today is the 72nd anniversary of the formal recognition of Orville Brown as the first NWA World's Heavyweight Champion. That happened July 14th, 1948. Of course, those of us in the hashtag NWA fam know the lineage really goes back further than that, but when we look at the formal recognition of the title to kind of clean the picture up a bit and begin a definite lineage, that occurred today, 72 years ago. So today is Orville Brown Day.
Very nice.
All right. Well, I've shared this thing all over the Facebook, and people are rolling in. Shout out to everybody that's here hanging out with us. J. Cal from the Alliance blog, RJ from Ringside Rant. We got Natalia Martin in the house.
Hey, babe.
Lovely lady. And we've got Terry McDermott here, Dave Scooby, Ryan Romano, and of course, WWE Front Row. What would this be without Front Row? It's good to see you guys. And what's up, you beautiful people? This is Gary Horn, and this is the NWA, the podcast celebrating the past, present, future, history, legacy, and tradition of the greatest pro wrestling entity of all time, the National Wrestling Alliance. And I'm not alone, as usual, especially for round 2. I've got Dr. Robert Stinson. That's his full medical name. Dr. Robert Stinson.
That's it, Robert. My parents weren't very creative when it came to middle names, so Robert's what I'm stuck.
Roberto Robert Stinsonian.
And that other voice you're hearing is the lovely and talented William Martin.
Wilson, but thanks.
Wilson.
Yeah.
Or as
I was about to ask you that. I was like, it's not William, is it? That's weird. It's it's
but
Wilson.
But you just went ahead and said it. So.
Or as
just put it out
as
there.
Mark Griffin put out yesterday, he's also known around the wrestling community as Ill Will Martin.
Yeah, man, I like that.
That's cool,
I
man.
heard that. I was like,
Ill
dude,
Will.
I've never been called that by like a third party. I'll call myself that, like ironically, and people just roll their eyes. But coming from him, man, that feels valid.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
It felt legit when he said it. I was like, all right, I think that could stick. Welcome, John Blade, and welcome anybody else that I missed. But thank you guys for hanging out with us. We're just hanging out. It's the normal. It's this NWA After Dark. It's the after show, and then later the after show, and the show that it's all after does not currently exist, but it will. It will again one day, and when it does, we'll be here waiting. And I see Ringside Rant already acknowledging, if you're watching us live on YouTube right now or later, then you'll notice we've got fancy new backgrounds. Look at these guys. That is courtesy of Will Martin. He did a lovely job here and made some like coherent vision for this whole thing. And we almost look professional, Will. Thank you for
I know.
this.
I thought it was time we button things up a little bit. Start.
We even all have like custom emojis.
I got a thesaurus over here just in case.
Yeah, I don't like it. Next thing you know, we'll have us starting on time and stuff and being all formal.
Yeah, I'm sending the uniform.
This is step one towards communism, like podcast communism. I think.
You wouldn't be the first person to call me a communist. So.
There you go. I'd be the second. The first was Rob.
Yeah, Rob was the first.
I also love that we're all wearing black. And though both of you technically have, Rob's wearing a podcast repping t-shirt. Will's got the Carney Land t-shirt.
Can purchase this on the website.
Oh, yeah, I should have said that. Yeah, it's thenwapod.com. You got to get it while it's hot. It's like a week left for the prices as low as they are right now. So you got to get them.
Yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and say it now. I'm calling Friday as the last day for this pricing. So get them between now and Friday. Make sure you get your orders in because it's going to go to regular price. Can't last forever.
Yeah,
true.
Bad news is, it'll go to regular price. Good news is, we will be coming out with new merchandise here in the near future. Some gravy cake merchandise, some bearded trio stuff, some stickers, signature Rob Stinson bandanas, all kind of stuff, man. We got it.
Some of those things, yeah.
Some of those things. WWE Front Row in the chat mentioned matching tracksuits. I'm down with that. I think that would work.
All right.
We'll just really get down on this. But yes, hashtag gravy cake. Looking forward to that merchandise. Today, folks, we are going to talk.
Used Manscaped merchandise from Gary. I got my used Manscaped.
Ship him.
Saturday.
It's not that it's used. It's just I gave you my lucky pubes. That's all. So, here we are.
I'm glad my wife just popped in for a second.
Yeah, probably best. Why? She never mind. I just have nothing to say to that. Kevin Ostring is in the chat. Welcome, sir. His favorite match is Nick Aldis versus Tim Storm in the first episode. That's also Ryan Romano's number one. Well, you guys stick around because for those of you who don't know, we're going to be talking tonight about the top 5 NWA Powerrr matches of all time, which it sounds like there's some like epic legacy of like 30 years of NWA Powerrr, but there's not. There's only like technically 21 episodes we pulled from. No pay-per-views, just from Powerrr. We did count Super Powerrr. So if you guys have opinions, we want to hear them. We had ours, and we did this very scientifically, but we'll get into that. Was there anything we were going to talk about beforehand before we jump into that? Will, did we want to talk about the drawing or any of that stuff?
The what now?
No, you go ahead. Sorry. You were shaking your head. You had something on your mind.
No, I mean, I know I'm the news guy. That's kind of my gimmick, but man, there's like nothing newsworthy to talk about. You know?
Yeah.
Unless people in the chat got something, I don't know. I mean, I know, you know, I'm just not that interested in anything that's going on, I guess. I mean, Extreme Rules is coming up on Sunday. I mean, so I don't know. Unless anybody in the chat has anything they want to talk about news-wise.
For those who just tuned in, I would just say nothing new, but please pay attention to, we were speaking about this earlier, pay attention to Adam Pearce's channel and some of the stuff that J. Cal is tweeting out. Lots of really great NWA content from the 7 Levels of Hate era, and then the tournament afterwards. J. Cal just put that out just literally just a few minutes ago. So there's stuff coming out that's just really, really timeless, important stuff for us to watch and digest and really study if we want to know about good classic NWA wrestling.
That is true. Definitely check that stuff out. I can't wait to watch the 7 Levels of Hate stuff. I saw that Pierce had put out that his favorite match was, I believe it was night 3, and it was an I Quit match. But yeah, we got to work something out with where we can like watch all of those, because I admittedly don't have much of a relationship with Adam Pearce, like as far as consuming his matches. So I'm interested in getting to know his career better. And honestly, same with Colt Cabana, because Colt Cabana, like I just know him from the Powerrr era. I don't really know him from his previous time.
Well, evidently, by all accounts, Adam Pearce is a great guy. We have invited him to appear on Piper's Notes before, and he replied very graciously that he would love to do it, but his media appearances have to come through the WWE. He sent me the contact information, and I sent that off, and have not heard back yet. We have been kind of conversing through private messaging the last few days, just over 7 Levels of Hate and some of that stuff. And I know that J. Cal's got a relationship with him, so hopefully, eventually, something can be worked out where we can have a dialogue together, the 3 of us, or J. Cal and him, or he and Piper, or whoever. But he's one of the greats, man, and he is he on a list of any list of great NWA or at least important NWA champions. Pierce has got to be on that list.
Totally agree with that. And J. Cal, just for what it's worth, is in the chat saying the discussion on the Powerrr matches begins and ends with Tim Storm versus Jack Stane, storyline continuity from one era to the next. I can assure you that will be discussed here in a bit. Dr. Red Tyler is in the chat, so that's good to see him. The other doctor, as he's being referred to in the chat. I don't know if he has a legit PhD. Stinson does. But, don't trust Dr. Red Tyler. I just will say it every time. All right. Well, if you guys don't have anything else, we'll just jump right into this thing. How about that? We'll just start talking about what our top 5 matches from NWA Powerrr were. And then after that, we can jump into the after show with the chat room and talk about whatever you guys want to, just like we always do. Just up front, we'd like to ask you, if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe and follow us on all the social medias at the NWA Pod. That just helps us get in front of more people, and that always helps us out. So,
hey Gary, before you go into the list, do you want to give them a little insight into the system that we use to determine our official 5 list? So it's not something we just scrounged together. There was some scientific thought that went into this, into the list, and not everybody's going to agree. And we all have, I've got 14 or 15 matches on my list that I had to narrow down to 5. So we all have some honorable mentions that could very well have appeared on there. But I don't know if you wanted to say a word about the system that we use to come up with our 5.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was about to. The thing is with it, just to give you guys an idea of how this all happened. And I still have this idea that at some point we'll even gather fan information to do the same exact thing with fan input. But what we did as the 3 of us, the way we came up with the NWA Pod official top 5 matches from NWA Powerrr, is Will, Robert, and I all got together, separately came up with what our top 5 matches were on our own, just individually. And I got to tell you, that part was hard enough for me. I was the last one. It felt like I was having to pick which kids I like best. It really sucked to do, but I did it. And we all came together and we gave our top 5. Now, what we did then is we awarded point value to each placement in our top 5. So easy enough. We just said, if you're in the 5th position, that's 1 point. If you're in the number 1 position, that's 5 points. And then we added all of the matches points together. And so that's the scientific way we came up with our actual top 5. Whoever had the highest amount of points at the end, that is the number 1 match this evening, and so on. So I think it's simple enough, easy to understand, but that's how we came up with it. But of course, we understand this is our picks for NWA Power's top 5 matches of all time. We all agreed to accept that as the community, well, our community choices. Does that sound right, guys?
Yeah.
Anything else to add to that?
Strictly NWA Power. This is not from Into the Fire or the Crockett Cup or any other pay-per-view or from any other era of the NWA prior to that. You're not going to find empty arena stuff on there like the Josephus thing. This is strictly NWA Power. Josephus is one that he's a guy that I really, really like. He's one of my favorites. I know people have mixed opinions about him. So some of you might be surprised that he's not on here, but his prominence has not been in the Power era. You know, he was really in the title picture right before Power began, definitely during the 10 Pounds of Gold documentary series. So you won't find his name in this list, but that's not to say that he's not had some great matches in the past and is worthy in a top list in the NWA overall. But this was relegated just to the Power era. So that's kind of a qualification also.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you guys want, I'm going to try this out. And I don't have this for everyone because I'm a slack ass. But I think what we'll do is hit our first 2, then maybe do some honorable mentions if you guys want to or whatever. We can choose whenever to do that. I know Rob's got some. I think Will has some he wants to bring up, and then we can hit the top 3 or something like that. Hey, we look professional. We're not all the way professional yet. So just we're working on it. All right. And so let's see how this works out. I'm going to hit to share my screen here and show you. This is the NWA podcast match number 5 on the list. Look at that. Look at that graphic. Can you see it yet?
I don't see anything.
I just see.
Wait, hold on. Sorry, I forgot to hit the button.
Yes.
There we go. Wow. All right. Now we got it. Number 5.
Oh my gosh.
It's Ricky Starks versus Nick Aldis. This was a TV time limit match is what this one was. This was on episode, it was episode, I'm such an idiot. There it is. Sorry. This is on episode 13 of NWA Power. These two went at it. They only had the 6:05 time limit. And it was one I struggled with. It actually didn't even make my personal list, but it was in a pretty decent spot for Dr. Stinson. Stinson, why don't you tell us a little bit about why it ended up there? Because I don't think it actually made Will and I's list, although I was close a couple of times.
I think that for one, I think this is sort of like on a smaller scale. This reminds me a lot of a Ric Flair Sting encounter with Nick Aldis, is using his stature to elevate an up and coming soon to be superstar that he has the highest regard for. This match goes to the time limit draw, and Starks has been in several great matches, and he's actually on my list a number of times. But this was my highest rated match of his, even more so than his TV title victory, and which wasn't on Power, but his TV title match with Zicky Dice, which I think made a couple of other lists. But to me, this is just a great clinic, very scientific match. Master student Nick Aldis regards Ricky Starks so highly that he called him his #1 prospect. And so to see master and student in the ring and go the time limit, I think this is really a historic, very, very important match for putting Starks on the map in a way that he hadn't quite been yet. I mean, not to say he wasn't on the map, don't get me wrong, because he had been, but this really only spoke wonders and volumes about Starks' ability to go the distance with the champ.
And I've seen the questions, and this was not for the TV title, as I recall. I don't even think this was yet like the TV title tournament. This was now Nick Aldis did enter the TV title tournament, or at first he actually backed out before he entered it. He said it was because of he just wanted some extra competition, but I saw that in the chat, like, why would the champ be in a TV title match? But no, this was just an exhibition matchup between the two. It wasn't even for the World's Heavyweight Championship. And like Rob mentioned, it went to the time limit draw. And you'll see here in the clips, Ricky Morton comes out, like Starks asks for 5 more minutes. Morton's going to ask for 5 more minutes for Starks, but the champ declines, which was not well received by the fans.
And it sets the stage for another really important match that may be on somebody's list out there. But that was the Ricky Morton Nick Aldis match, which was so important that President William Patrick Corgan did something that he rarely does, and he actually came out to watch the Morton and Nick Aldis match. So this sets the stage for another important chapter in the NWA Powerrr era. With Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson being in the tag title picture. There was this really great exchange where now Aldis is talking about himself being one of the greats, and Ricky Morton comes out and name drops Terry Funk and Rhodes and Flair and Ricky Steamboat, and he makes the comment, "You have a long road to hoe," and there's this there's a setup for the Morton Aldis encounter, which was another really 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 fascinating piece of kind of like how Alliance, how Jay Cal in the chat earlier said that Tim Storm and Jack Dangs represents the bridging of 2 eras, and that's the case too with Morton and Aldis. But in this case, this was Aldis and Starks going to the distance and putting on a great match. Very underrated.
It's a great example too of I'm not a big fan of non-finishes. I don't think any real wrestling fans are, but there are times like this where it does further a storyline and it does serve a purpose. And it as much as it would have made sense for Aldis to go over, I mean, that going to the time limit draw elevated both guys, and it gave Aldis a chance to further his character, refusing the extension, as you said, setting up something in the future with Ricky Morton. And so it's just it's a great example of, just as you said, I mean, these 2 guys, and Aldis isn't old, but he's established, and Ricky Starks wasn't yet completely established. And having that visual, you talk about Ric Flair and Sting, that was I remember even being a kid and seeing that when I saw Sting in the ring with Ric Flair at Clash of the Champions, it just solidified Sting in my mind. Like, you're not in the ring with Ric Flair unless you are a certain caliber of person, right? He didn't really have like jobber matches, at least when I was watching, when he was at the level he was at. So, I mean, the fact that the match even happened, and the fact that we got that visual of Ricky Starks in the ring with the world's champ did nothing but elevate everyone involved. And so it's definitely worthy. It wasn't on my personal list, I don't think either, but it's definitely worthy to be on this list, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of sad. I'm glad that the match kind of rolled in there at the end for us, that because we had a few last minute changes once we started seeing how the list was playing out. And this match ended up being kind of a late entry into the top 5. I'm glad it finally made it there, because it really is a clinic. Like Doc said, it's just a great match from end to end, and proving just how good a match can be, even in that short amount of time, just what NWA Powerrr can do as a show. So I was really happy to see it. And and like you said, it really elevated Ricky Starks. Hell, elevated him so far he left. So, no, we're happy for Mr. Starks, but we're sad too.
Hey,
anyway,
I wanted to drop in here real quick before we got much further, and just I know some people might be tuning in to see the question of the day guy, Mark Griffin. His plan is to be here, guys. He had some last minute situations. He lives up in Maryland, I think, and he had some situations where he had to go out and take some keys to someone who got locked out of the car, but this person happened to be about an hour away. So he is going to try to get back and jump in midstream. If he doesn't make it, we will promise to bring him back, because this is a guy that's got so much charisma, and we want to do some stuff with him, and just oozing with positivity and just coolness. And if he doesn't make it tonight, and I'm hoping he will, but if he doesn't make it tonight, we'll make sure that he gets on here at some point if you're tuning in tonight to see him.
Yeah, we love that guy. He's full of positivity and definitely somebody we like being around. Just like you people, even you, Dr. Red Tyler. We like having you guys around. So let's see here. So, I'm seeing some stuff in the chat. You guys keep throwing them in there, and we'll definitely talk about some of those matches that you guys want to discuss, especially after we get through this top 5, because we'd love to know what you guys think and see if maybe there's a way we can plan to get more of that input in the future as well. So let's, fellas, if you're ready, let's move on to number 4 on the list. I don't have a fancy graphic for this one, so we'll just jump right into it. Number 4 on the list is from the Superpower episode. It came in with a strong amount of points at number 4. It's Strictly Business versus Villain Enterprises. And that matchup took place as the main event on Superpower. And it pitted Thomas Latimer and Nick Aldis versus Marty Scurll and Brody King. And those guys, this all happened because of an invasion into, if you were watching it at the time, just an invasion into the NWA from Marty Scurll, and then it led to, of course, Strictly Business interfering in Ring of Honor business. And of course, this then just caused a bunch of back and forth. So Nick Aldis had started, he had been in a match previously with PCO and pinned him in a match. He then at the Hard Times pay-per-view and pinned Flip Gordon. And so these were the 2 members of Strictly Business. I mean, technically had beaten Marty Scurll at Crockett Cup 2019, but they'd actually were getting ready to face off against each other at Crockett Cup 2020. And he's never been in the ring with Brody King that I'm aware of. So this was a pretty exciting match to see happen. This one was actually high up on my list, I know. And then, and to me, it was just because this was a really, really solid tag team match. Like, these guys know how to go. And I attribute some of that probably to the kinship that they share, especially between Marty, Nick, and Tom, that they all kind of came up in the same areas and trained in the same places, that sort of thing. So they're used to working with each other, but a lot of just good ring psychology in this one, I thought. And Stu Bennett on the call also really elevated it, I think. And so this was just a quality tag team match to watch. But as I presented it, I know, Will, you kind of jumped in too, and were a big fan of this one. Was there something in particular that stood out to you, or what were your thoughts?
The whole thing, man. I mean, you hit on it, but just the psychology, the storytelling in the ring, everything from, and I'm a tag team guy, so this one was, I mean, I was giddy the whole match, it felt like. But it was, if you watch, they do some spots where they throw the guy in the corner, and the partner will kick him in the back with his knee, and they were kind of doing that back and forth from team to team. And then there was a spot where the ref was telling him not to do that, keep it in the ring, like don't mess with the guys, and wasn't looking, and threw Marty across the ring, and the ref wasn't looking, and he slapped his hand and tried to say that Nick had kicked him or something like that. And it's just like stuff like that, which is like, you just don't see that a lot anymore. Guys trying to, work in that kind of storyline and that deception and stuff like that. I mean, the one note that I do have, and I don't know if this is going to start anything this early between me and Rob, but that crowd seemed to be hot on Marty Scurll. And I
But
I
what
don't
had
know.
happened was later on, after when they were producing this, the producers pumped in crowd noise on behalf of Marty Skrull. But I was there, and there was it was deafening
Right.
for Aldis and Latimer, deafening.
Yeah, I wasn't wearing my tinfoil hat when I was watching it, so I guess the the satellite waves were getting to me. Um, but I mean, dude, I mean, one thing too I noticed. I mean, just these four guys look great. They look like professional wrestlers. They look like they carry themselves like they know what they're doing. And there's just something about when you got four guys in a tag team match and this isn't discounting anyone else, but you guys know what I'm talking about. When there's four guys in there, they're comfortable with each other. They're confident in what they're doing. They can put on a tag team clinic because they all work well together. I mean, I think Marty and Brody work well together, and they've been doing it for a while in Ring of Honor. So they've got great chemistry too. So it was just great chemistry all around. I thought, I mean, Brody, Brody looks huge. That was one of my notes. I mean, he just in that ring and in that studio. I don't know if there's really anybody that is like his size that's been in that studio on NWA Power. I don't know, but he just looked like very intimidating in that ring, in that studio. And I thought that was a really cool touch. But
I agree with you, and especially because I always picture Tom being kind of that way, but Brody King actually towers over Tom, like standing next to each other. I picture like Tom being the muscle for Strictly Business, and you look at him next to Brody King. Actually, on the clip we're showing right now, you can kind of see it. Like Brody's got size on Tom. Like it's pretty impressive. Like seeing that guy up close.
He's got size and girth, and there was a discussion some time back about the NWA not having big guys, and we're thinking, no, man, Tom Latimer's huge. He's a monster. Nick Aldis is not a small guy. Eli Drake and James Storm are not small guys at all, but Brody is just huge. I mean, he's girthy, huge, and definitely the biggest man in that ring. So.
Yep.
I will say, for the sake of NWA fam, it was good for me to see Aldis and Latimer come out on top. I was pulling for them in this contest. Will's right, though. That crowd was torn. There were a lot of fans, but I think that's a lot of a testament to the popularity of Marty Skrull and Villain Enterprises. Like Marty Skrull's a star, man. He is a star. That's why it elevated the NWA for him to show up at Crockett Cup 2019. He had a lot of fans there as well. But yeah, now Front Row is in the chat asking that we save the size and girth talk for after dark so we could steer around that. But anyway,
this match had main event feel to it. I mean, four big, very important guys, and it was the main event of Super Power, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
But really, really great. You're right. There was some crazy energy, and I think WWE Front Row was there. He can tell you, and there was just crazy energy in that building, and it was. I mean, honestly, the crowd was about even, and of course, we're over there yelling loud for all of us, so we're drowning a lot of people out ourselves. But it was a divided crowd for sure. I mean, Marty Skrull is over, dude. He is. People love him, and he had a lot of fans in the audience.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to you. It wasn't like when I first sat down to think about matches, and I don't know if it's just because of the way things went down in Superpower coming out later on into the quarantine period and all of that stuff. But it was like I had to start looking at the match lineups, the cards for each night of Power, because I don't know, I just like it didn't like come right to me, but for some reason, right when I saw it, I was like, dang, I gotta go watch that match again because I remember those guys got after it in the middle of the ring, like they're good, all of them are. So anyway, glad I did because it definitely ended up being a big deal for me. I thought it was worthy of its number 4 spot on our top 5 list. Anything else to add about Villain Enterprises versus Strictly Business, fellas?
Love to see more of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully when we come back. All right. Well, that'll take us to number 3 on the list, which is actually a tie. So first up, no matter what we did, we ended up with a tie somewhere. And so number 3 on our top 5 is going to be shared by 2 matchups. The first one of which is going to be the tag team championship match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Wild Cards. This was on NWA Powerrr episode 9. Now, I'm sure you all remember this. This was actually after the infamous episode number 8 of NWA Powerrr, which was
really?
I know it sounds dumb.
So they just go in order. Okay, good.
Yeah,
I didn't have that.
Science.
So they went from 8 to 9. Okay.
Oh man, some people will tell you it's not an infamous episode, but it was for a lot of us because it was like directly after the Jim Cornette firing, and that episode just came up, and there were like no matches on there. I think there was like the one match with an empty arena thing or something like that. Maybe it was something like that. But
is that when they did the discussion of Thunder Rosa and her MMA?
Yeah.
Background?
Yeah, I think they were saving that initially for like some kind of documentary footage, but they ended up going ahead and throwing it on that episode. Just I don't know. I could be wrong. I'm not privy to the backstage goings on of the NWA, but in any case, episode 9 finally got us back into some more action, and not a lot of action in this episode. This is like, there may have been like one more match in this episode, but this matchup took up most of your time. And it was the Rock and Roll Express, after so long, getting a chance to go for 9 times as the NWA Tag Team Champions. And so that would be an impressive feat, especially at their age. Also put them in what, Rob? It would be like 3 decades, I think, of them being champions,
right?
And as a tag team. So pretty incredible, and no easy feat either, because I mean they're up against Tom Latimer and Royce Isaacs at this time, who were not known as Strictly Business, just the Wild Cards. We did not know what was to come with them, but 2 very big, strong men in their prime, and somehow Ricky Morton and Robert still took them to task in this matchup. This ended up pretty nice position on all of our lists. So Rob, what do you think about this one?
This is another one of those matches that's like the Tim Storm Jack Stang, or Ricky Starks, Nick Aldis, Ric Flair Sting, which is a cross-generational match. One team that's just highly venerated and respected and skilled, but definitely, they've got fewer great matches in front of them than they do behind them. And then the Wild Cards, who the sky is the limit for. I mean, these 2 guys, Royce Isaacs and Tom Latimer, just incredible physiques, great ability, great storytelling going on here. I think we were all, I didn't expect Ricky Morton, going back to the Ricky Morton Nick Aldis match. I wasn't expecting Ricky Morton to beat Aldis for the title, which he didn't. I wasn't expecting the Rock and Roll Express to win the titles on this, but they shocked the world, man, and it was just great for them to see them hold those classic gold NWA tag belts that they first won from Ivan Koloff and Crusher Khrushchev is just pretty incredible, man. Very surreal.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and unfortunately we've been very saturated as of late from WWE with these legends matches, right? With Undertaker and Goldberg and guys like that, and unfortunately, you can tell when they can't keep pace with whoever they're in the ring with. You could not tell that in this match. If you weren't, and here's the thing too. If you're looking for it and you're dissecting it, you can find it. But it's a testament to Tom Latimer and Royce Isaacs, because they were able to go in there, and nothing about this match looked like they were taking it easy because the guys were older. It felt real. It felt on pace with anything else you would see on Powerrr if it was any 2 tag teams in their prime. And I mean, just the ring work, the tag team psychology again, the hot tags. I mean, there was a great hot tag spot, and it just the the build up to that, I mean, Rock and Roll Express, as you said, have been doing it for 3 decades. They know what they're doing, and they can do it in their sleep. So they put on another great match, and it was interesting because it's kind of one of those things. It's like I said before, not to harp on WWE, but we've seen Goldberg win the title a couple of times, right, in the last few years. Each time really felt like a fluke. It really did. You can watch the match and you're like, okay, like it just had to happen and whatever, and you kind of gloss over it. When Rock and Roll Express won this match, nothing in me thought that should not have been legitimate. You know what I mean? I mean, in that match, they out wrestled the Wild Cards, and they won the tag team titles. I mean, that was a great match, and you forget that they're at a higher age than everyone else, and you just love the wrestling, and you really feel you feel what they're trying to get over, and it was a great match. I mean, there was no way this wasn't going to be on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it no matter what would go down as one of the best moments in NWA Power history, just seeing these guys and for whatever folks want to say about Jim Cornette, I mean, him being a part of it in the ring with them, knowing the history between those guys, it really added this continuity to it that, there's going to be other matches like this where we discuss like the continuity of what they bring to the table in NWA Power. But this really connected the new NWA with the old NWA, the classic NWA, the 80s NWA, I guess it would be. And so that earlier period that is really familiar for a lot of people. And for what it's worth, man, the pop when Ricky gets that pin and that 3 hits, the fans' arms go up, and it's in that studio, man. But it's like that feel of that, like we talked about with the Great American Bash 90 when Sting pinned Flair and that sort of thing, obviously in a smaller venue, but it definitely worked just the same. It felt like it. Once they got that pin and the fans realized what was happening and history was being made right in front of them, man, it went over like gangbusters, like gravy cake even.
Yeah. Then Jim Cornette comes in, given the history between Cornette and the Rock and Roll Express, and when the belt's there, this, I don't know, Terry McDermott will appreciate this, and he probably knows, but we are almost 35 years to the day from when the Rock and Roll Express won their first NWA World's Tag Team Championship. It was July the 8th, 1985, where they beat the Russians and win their first title. So 3 decades, again, comes full circle. We have Rock and Roll Express pulling out that surprise, amazing victory. And then Jim Cornette comes in the ring as the titles are being presented. I mean, that if that doesn't send chills up your spine, then you're not a human being. It's crazy.
No, that's 100% true. Those guys, not always the best history with each other, but it was cool to see the amount of respect shown between the two, and seeing a guy like Cornette recognize the history shown in a moment like this was a big deal. Which, if you guys don't have anything to add about that, we can go over to the other number 3 match of the evening, which I think, interestingly enough, I don't think that was the plan when I even put it this way. But if you want to talk about the transitional period or showing a connection to the past, with Rock and Roll Express winning the tag team titles, the next match that won our number 3 position is actually another match that represents a connection to a different period of the NWA. And that match is the no disqualification, no holds barred match, I guess, between Jax Dane and Tim Storm at Superpower. So these two have a long storied career or history with each other. Tim Storm actually becoming known as the first champion of this modern era, or the guy that had the belt at the beginning. And he actually won that belt from Jax Dane back in that time period that I guess this would still probably qualify in that wilderness era that we talk about, just before the reign of or the era of Corgan and Logano, and they picked up the NWA. So it was kind of interesting to see Jax Dane show back up during this whole Mama Storm thing, and want to challenge again Tim Storm, just to bring back that grudge, I guess. Basically, just no other way to put it. He just still had a grudge against Tim Storm, and they just wanted to fight. And you knew going into this match, these are two big hosses, and they're going to fight it out. And you want to see them just knock the crap out of each other. And boy, did they deliver.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's interesting because, I mean, if you follow Jax Dane on social media, I mean, he and Tim Storm are a lot alike. I mean, they got big hearts. They're all about positivity, you know, and then to see these guys in the ring just being these monsters in this no DQ match, it's just a testament to their ability to perform and their athleticism. Obviously, Tim Storm, at the age that he is at, to be able to be in a match like that's that physical, was super impressive. And I mean, this match definitely delivered. It was definitely one that I was excited for. That I another one I want to see again. I want to see, you know, I guess I don't know how many times they fought. I know that Tim Storm won the title from him, but you know, I could see this match and this feud 2-3 more times. Because these guys have great chemistry. They know each other. You can tell they respect each other, and they put on a great match.
Yeah, big guys. This was they were all over the arena. We were actually there, and if you watch closely, you could see Gary there wearing a green shirt and a toboggan, and then they walk right up the ramp beside my family and I. Scared the crap out of Petra, man. But it was, man, it was like. It was brutal. Those guys are big boys.
Yeah.
There's my family right there. You see me right there on the edge. There's
over to the left there. Yeah. We'll see him.
All in your
Karate Rob right there. Yeah. Over to the right by Tim Storm's bud is Camille's father, for anybody that doesn't know that. So you can see that. Rob, you can see the anxiousness for Rob. If he didn't have Petra in his lap right there, he would want to be in on this fight. Like, he'd be jumping in between these two guys, I feel like.
Yeah. I was wanting to get.
You seem sure of yourself, Rob. That's the way
I was wanting to get some of Jax, man. I didn't like what he was saying about Mama Storm and with him and Danny Deal. So I was about to jump in and help my boy out.
But these two guys delivered. I thought it was really, really great. I wasn't sure what to expect, except that, you know what you want to see. You just want to see them just beat the crap out of each other. And they brought it, man. They really, really brought it to each other, went all over that arena, and they did not pull punches at all. Like, they were just laying it in, and it looked good.
It was a treat too, man, because, you know, we've gotten used to the NWA surprising us with talent. You know, we're like Scott Steiner showing up out of the blue to Nikita Koloff showing up out of nowhere. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't expect Jax Dane to be there. So it was a big surprise when Danny Deals brought him out from behind the curtain. And it was really just like J. Cal says, man, what a great story to tell. This battle of two world champions, you know, representing two different eras. You know, if you want to put Jax Dane in that wilderness era, then he's the last of that breed. And Tim Storm is the first of the Corgan era, you know, and it just really fantastic story there.
It's true. These guys and had a nice, good long match as well. And it gives you that connection back to that previous era. And I love the idea that in a world where WWE so often doesn't want to treat its legends with respect or doesn't want to acknowledge anything that's happened before. And I feel like we've probably talked about this a few times, so I won't hammer in on it too much, but just the idea that this company under new management is willing to bring back a match like this, acknowledging a feud from years before they were even in charge of anything, that they maintain a period of time, you know, did not even know about, but they tried to give you that insight into this matchup. And so it's just kind of entertaining, and just I appreciate that they let those kind of things go on.
There's Sandoval and down there, and Mass Fan in the audience.
Yeah. They everybody was there. They even attacked the Crockett Cup. I cut away from the viewing thing. They go after the Crockett Cup for a minute. Jax gets thrown right into it, and but anyway, so a great match between Tim Storm, and so good to see both these guys make the top 5. So, folks, that's the first 3. And we've got the your final 2 coming up in just a second. I said I was going to do this before 3, but I totally forgot. So let's jump in here for a minute and talk about, since we happen to know what our top 2 matches are going to be tonight. Let's tell the folks that do you guys have some honorable mentions you'd like to throw in there? Some things you'd like to see? Actually, just to let you guys talk a little more, I'm going to tell you what I thought already. And I didn't have like specific matches. I can name a few, but I just feel like some recognition needs to go to 3 guys that are in the NWA right now that I feel like are linchpin individuals right now in the company. And well, unfortunately, one of them is already gone, and that is Ricky Starks. I wanted to, at first, when I thought of this, he wasn't making much of an impact in the top 5 list for whatever reason. He did end up making our number 5 position, but Ricky Starks is a part of so many good matches from the Powerrr era, including his run with Zicky Dice. He has a great match with Matt Cross. He has a great early match with Trevor Murdoch in the second episode of NWA Powerrr, just establishing himself there. All the way up to his TV title win at Hard Times, and the promo he cut afterwards. Just that guy just is outstanding and was a blue chipper for NWA Powerrr. The other 2 I'd bring up there who hopefully would not ever get overlooked, but they don't appear in our top 5. One I just mentioned, and that's Trevor Murdoch, and the other would be Caleb Conley. I think these guys are essential folks on the NWA Powerrr roster. Trevor Murdoch, when I was going back through matches, just looking at these things, that guy shows up in so many of my favorite moments in Powerrr. Just seeing his storyline of like seeking a contract at the very beginning of NWA Powerrr, I thought was a really cool thing. And his feud with the Question Mark for a little bit there, his feud for the TV title. God, if you want to talk about excitement, Will had mentioned one time when we were making up the list that a lot of the matches he was picking were ones that made him excited. I was so excited to see Trevor Murdoch versus Thomas Latimer. And I will say that I was a little disappointed that it was as short as it was, because Trevor did squeak out a win out of nowhere on Tom, but they delivered when they locked up. Man, that was like, that ring moved with every single like attack they made on each other. And so it lived up to it. And Caleb Conley, my God, that guy he's just so good. Like, I don't feel like people realize how good Caleb Conley is. And when you go back and you watch the first episode of NWA Powerrr, he's in the second match and he's against Eli Drake. He doesn't come out on top against Eli, but those two have a classic, just good old school wrestling match. And it is fantastic. And then he'll go on later to have many more all over the place, and including one with Matt Cross towards the end of the NWA Powerrr run so far that I thought was just outstanding. Like, just Caleb Conley, Trevor Murdoch, those guys deserve all the credit in the world. They are two of the best people on the NWA Powerrr roster. All right, I've talked enough. You guys go ahead.
Go ahead, Will.
Rob.
Okay,
or
me.
Will.
All right.
Well,
I don't care.
I was going to let you go because I only have one honorable mention, so I'm going to let you cover. You probably got several, so you go ahead and cover yours, and then
I'm going to tell you what was on my list, and then I've got two specifically that are my honorable mentions. There's so many, and gosh, I hate it's like Gary said, it's like picking between favorite kids. There's so many gems on every single episode, and then you go into like circled squared matches that are some stuff there, but that's not really Powerrr. But I had I had some, just let me run down what are we're just on the cusp of my honorable mentions, and these easily could have fit into this. But there's in Powerrr episode 2, the Wild Cards versus Homicide and Eddie Kingston. Man, what a great match! Great storytelling. Of course, anything that you put Eddie Kingston in is going to be fire. Episode 4, you had the great Ricky Starks Aaron Stevens match. I know Aaron Stevens comes across as a comic character. Let's not forget, this is a legitimate world-class athlete, and they put on a fantastic match. And this is, again, very early in the Powerrr era. And even though we've seen Ricky Starks before and prior to Powerrr content, this is when Ricky Starks is just sort of getting his stamp placed as a regular on Powerrr. And this was a fantastic contest. There was the Nick Aldis Trevor Murdoch match in episode 7. That's really phenomenal. Obviously, the Aldis Ricky.
By the way, that was up there on my list. Rob, sorry to cut you off. And I was going to say, you're 100% right about Ricky Starks. One I forgot to say when I was thinking of him was that 2 out of 3 falls match between him and Aaron Stevens. That's one of my favorite matches on Powerrr. But anyway,
fantastic, man. There was the Aldis Ricky Morton match that we've already discussed. So I'll just I'll push back this, and I hope I'm not stepping on Will here. I have a sense he might have picked this, but maybe not. Episode 17, Matt Cross versus Caleb Conley. Fantastic match, man. Gosh, crazy good match. Of course, again, Matt Cross is one of those ones like Ricky Starks that anything he touches turns to gold. There was the great Ricky Starks Matt Cross match in episode 18, and then and so now my honorable mentions.
Was that not what you were just doing?
What was that?
Yeah, this was my list that didn't make my honorable mentions, but could have. Okay, so my 2 honorable mentions. I got 2 that I really feel are really important, not necessarily always because they're the most technically sound, but because they further a character or a story. So one, we have the question mark versus Zane Dawson, and this is in that episode, Gary, that you were referring to, where they just had the one match and they did the Thunder Rosa MMA thing. And this was actually the Mask versus the Shakespeare Empty Arena match between question mark and Zane Dawson. Question mark, we were only beginning to learn about the mythology behind Monrovia. We weren't quite sure what all this was. We didn't know that they had weights of measures and that karate actually originated on the island, on the Mongrovian Islands. And, we none of that mythology had emerged yet. So question mark was still very much, a new thing to us, but he was immediately over. I mean, it's like the very first time he showed up, Gary can tell you he was there. Fans loved him. They just bought into it. And, I feel like question mark was not intended to be a mainstay, but because he was so beloved immediately, and, it stuck and they had to keep him there. And remember, he's partnered with Aaron Stevens, who's not necessarily a good guy and doesn't get much love from the audience. But, they would do this thing where Aaron Stevens would try to get cheers and they'd boo him, and then question mark would throw his arm up and people would go nuts. But this is a match. One, I love the Dawsons, and to see Zane and question mark go out, another couple big guys again, fantastic match. If for nothing else, and it furthered the mythology and the legend of the question mark. Okay, so that's my number 1 honorable mention. My number 2 honorable mention features 2 of my favorite female athletes that I think can be big time names and are 2 of the greatest in the game, bar none. And that is episode 12, Tasha Steelz versus Marty Bell. You want to talk about a great match, a scientific match, a match not between just 2, physically beautiful women, but 2 legit athletes. These girls aren't in there to be pretty. They're there to display athleticism and tell stories. And that Tasha Steelz match with Marty Bell was it's Greek mythology, man. It's so good. And that is on episode 12 if you want to go back and watch it. Tasha Steelz versus Marty Bell, and that is my honorable mention number 2.
There is a triple threat, by the way, too, between Ashley Vox, Marty Bell, and Tasha Steelz. And that's towards the later episodes. And I'm sorry I didn't have it pulled up right in front of me. But when I was going through stuff, I was like, this is actually a really good triple threat match. They do a really good job. The women's division is strong in the NWA. We've never doubted that.
that's the one that I thought of too. You guys know my personal, and again, it's just preference. It's not anything like everybody's got their preference, but I'm not really big on three-way matches. I don't like those kind of gimmick matches. I'm more in line with the, gentleman's rules. And so for me, even though that was a great match, and I like Ashley Vox too, seeing Tasha Steelz and Marty Bell hook up mano a mano under gentleman's rules, I love that. So.
Well, Will,
my one honorable mention, and this was one. This one was the reason our list had to change a couple of times because I just kept going back and forth. But it was the TV title match between Zicky Dice and Ricky Starks, and I wanted this on the list so badly because I love the TV title, I love Zicky Dice, and I love Ricky Starks, and I just in my mind it was a big moment because it's a title change. But as I went back and watched it, and this is nothing against those two guys, when I went and watched it in the scope of what we're talking about, great matches, the match itself didn't really deliver where I thought it should and where I know it could with those guys. And it was a little bit glossed over too. I mean, after Zicky won the title, he was cutting a promo, and then Thomas Latimer came out and started calling out Joe Galley. They kind of glossed over it, which I'm not a huge fan of. I think there should have been a bigger deal made about it. So I wanted that on my list because I think as a moment it was big, that title change, and it's still having ramifications now, just with Ricky, and I'm not saying that's why Ricky left. I'm just saying there's a lot surrounding those two guys, and so with that feud and that title change, I feel like looking back on it, it was one of those things that it felt bigger looking back on it than when I actually went and watched the match itself, if that makes sense. And so that was my honorable mention, just because it's a TV title change. It should be a big match. I just wish it had been a little more over the top than it was. You know what I mean? Does that make sense to you guys?
Absolutely. This is the first time that the TV title changes hands on Powerrr. So if for nothing else, that's important.
Yeah, and they had a 6:05 time limit, and that was cool. Ricky Starks had defended successfully twice, and so they were pushing the lucky 7, and then Zicky just kind of stole it, and it was a little bit uneventful if you go back and watch it. Again, it's not a knock on those guys because we all know what they're capable of, but I just I felt like it didn't. It was early in the show. It was like the first or second match. Easily could have been a main event, and they could have given him more time, and they could have made it a little more dramatic. But we're not overly critical on this show of the NWA because we love the NWA. But I'm going to speak that frankly from my opinion, and that comes with me being an Arn Anderson guy and a TV title guy. I do hold that title in prestige, even though I understand it is the entry level title when you're looking at the hierarchy. But I just think that should be the dynamic title. You know what I mean? The one that can change hands more frequently, the one that can have kind of just fast-paced barn burner matches week in and week out. And so I wanted it on the list. My heart wanted it on the list, but then my wrestling brain, when I went back and watched it, I couldn't put it on the list.
I think part of probably what went into your thinking there too is, I mean, Zicky has done so much with that TV title and just with his personality and charisma, just like throwing himself out there as the TV champion, like so much since he won it. It feels like there must have been some epic process that got him there.
Yeah, and that's another just testament to his talent, that since that moment he's gotten himself and the TV title over even more. That in my mind, I was just like, without going back and watching the match, because it's been several months since I watched it, I just assumed it was like an incredible, title transition, and it wasn't. So
yeah, it just I get exactly what you mean, and like you said, we don't like to be overly critical, and we're just whatever. We're what's the word? The quarterbacks like hanging out in our chairs. Yeah, there's a word for that. I don't. Armchair. Why could I not think of
just like the quarterbacks hanging out in their armchairs? What's that called? I don't know.
But anyway,
the guys that
anyway,
look back, but when they look back, they have like perfect vision.
Yeah. What is that? I don't know. Anyway, no, it is one of those things. It felt like it was a bigger moment than it was, and you're right. It was kind of glossed over. I remember being in the studio at the time, and when it happened, being kind of like, well, especially imagine when you're in the studio, if you're in Atlanta during that weekend, you just saw Hard Times, so you just saw Ricky win it, and so like literally like 2 days before, and so you're getting to that moment, and you're like, wait, what's happening? Like, did Zicky, that can't count like that? I don't know. It's kind of, it was more of a shock than anything. It was just like I can't believe that just happened, and especially when you feel like Ricky's as on fire as he is. And so anyway, it was an interesting moment there that happened, but you can't deny what Zicky's done since then. Like he has made himself as known as anybody in the NWA as far as that goes. So if you guys are ready, let's show everyone what our number of the NWA Powerrr Legacy has to offer. Are we ready?
Yes.
All right. So coming in at number 2, we talked about the strength of our ladies in the NWA. No different here. It is the women's championship match between Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. Now this, it's surprising and not surprising to me because like this is coming at number 2. So we obviously think there's one that had more impact, but this is a rematch. This is after their epic fight at Hard Times, where Thunder Rosa won the women's championship from Allison Kay, and Allison Kay basically immediately cashes in the opportunity to get a rematch against Thunder Rosa, and this match is outstanding. But I will say, I do not think it was as good as their match at the pay-per-view. I thought the pay-per-view match topped this match that they have here, and this match is a classic. So, for what that's worth, like throw that pay-per-view match in there, and you may have a number 1. But anyway, I loved it. It just shows that, like, I mean, if I hate to do this for like the podcast listeners, but if you're watching just the clips right now, you can just see these two ladies going at it like technical wrestling. Just all over the place. I don't know, just a quality, just showing they're as good as any dudes out there. They can have an epic wrestling match, and basically establishing why Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa are and should be the foundations of an NWA in the modern era. Their women's division, like these two you talk about. I've mentioned people that I think are just top quality, essential members of the NWA roster. And these two would be like right at the tip top of that, in my opinion.
Right. We're not talking about, two of the greatest in the world. We're talking about maybe the two greatest in the world right here, of anybody, Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa. And I'm with you. We weren't really evaluating pay-per-view matches. I think that one could, if we were, that match might have been number 1 on our list. Allison Kay and Thunder Rosa at pay-per-view. But fantastic clinic, man. 2 phenomenal. Again, I mean, they're both beautiful women, but they're not out there to be pretty. They're out there to show you athleticism and to show you an amazing match, and they did not disappoint at all. They absolutely delivered. Of course, Thunder Rosa does that every time, as does Allison Kay. Thunder Rosa seemed to be wrapped up in a lot of tag team title matches. She would have appeared on this list more frequently, I think, if she weren't in those 3-way matches and or 6-man and tag team matches so frequently as they were building this Melina storyline and this tension between Melina, Camp, and Allison Kay. But gosh, these ladies deliver every time, and this is a match to be studied.
Absolutely. I mean, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I was getting this and the Hard Times when I was thinking back in my mind. I was getting some of the spots and stuff jumbled together, so I wasn't sure till I went back and watched this one by itself. which, you know, what kind of stuff I was remembering. But this match, I mean, as far as a match on Power, a title match, it was top notch all the way through. I mean, it was nonstop. I was into it the whole time. There was no lulls. There was no anything. And both of these ladies, the thing about them is they're so believable in the ring. And we talk about this a lot, the authenticity. We talk about the just, you know, I hate to say the in character or anything like that, but just that authenticity of their character really shines through when you see them in the ring together. And you can tell they're very comfortable together, that they work well together. And so it's when that kind of stuff is apparent, it just creates this seamless experience that it's so easy as a wrestling fan to buy into. And so I even if it wasn't a title match, it would have had the same gravitas to me because of the caliber of talent of these two ladies.
I think too that another thing, this match really illustrates a point that we make on here frequently, and that's the importance of the combat sports, the performance sports aspect. Where, you know, there's a storyline where Thunder Rosa is allied with Melina and Marty Bell and that faction, but she refuses to win this match under shady circumstances. She refuses to fight under those terms. Thunder Rosa is an athlete, and she fights on her own when it comes to the championship. And one thing that I've always loved about the NWA is whether you got personalities or you got heels or baby faces, we can argue that all day, but our promotion is committed to the clean match, and that was apparent in this one.
Yeah, and both of them have that combat sport background as well, which really informs a lot of the stuff that went on here. There was a lot of, like, I don't know, we were watching back the clips here. I was just thinking of like all the limb targeting they were doing, and like just there was a lot of like basic wrestling 101, like just psychology that should be in a match, you would think. And Thunder Rosa, of course, retains her title here. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what else to tell you. Just I don't think that there are any two better female wrestlers out there right now. So I would put these two against anybody.
Yep, 100%.
All right, folks. Well, that will take us to our number one match, unless you guys have something to add with that.
Just a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. I'm just kidding.
No, well, I mean, actually, this is a great time to talk about manscaped.com. Rob's had an experience now, I assume. I don't know for a fact.
Oh, yeah, man. It's a fantastic device. I mean,
let's put him on the spot. Anyway,
I thought you didn't.
I'm just saying, you can see.
I don't own it.
Yeah,
apparently this was just lent to me.
I'm gonna need my ball trimmer back, Rob. So anyway, if you want to get into awkward conversations with your friends, let them know about manscaped.com, where you can get the nice new Lawnmower 3.0 with its ceramic blade, and it will not nick and cut. It is the best device for men's grooming out there right now. And if you use the code NWAPOD, you get 20% off and free shipping. It's fantastic. They even have ball deodorant, which I told Rob he needed last time I saw him. So
oh man, they've got doggone creams and, you know, lotions and moisturizers and
yeah, just everything.
All kind of stuff.
Yeah, you just see, if you want to get proper attention down there, you want to give yourself proper attention, and also the love you make is equal to the love you take, or something. I don't know.
It's delicate enough for down there, but also strong enough for your beard.
That's true. It could work on your beard, and
I mean, or so I'm told. So I'm told.
It's just that you can't love anybody else until you love yourself. So love yourself. Go to manscaped.com. NWA Pod, 20% off and free shipping. All right. So I guess this is as good a time as any to jump into our number one matchup of the evening. Some of you may have guessed it already. I saw the predictions in the chat room. But as we fall into the number one position, you'll find that no match triumphs over NWA Powerrr Episode 1, Nick Aldis versus Tim Storm for the World's Heavyweight Championship. This was literally number one on all three of our lists. There was none higher. Rob, we know why you think so, so I'm going to throw to Will first to let us know his thoughts.
I mean, continuity, bridging the gap. For me, it was, I got hooked into 10 pounds of gold, and this feud, I viewed this feud from afar, so to speak, because, 10 pounds of gold, don't get me wrong, was very in-depth and very detailed, and you felt like you were part of it, but it was a docuseries, and, it would cover highlights of the matches and stuff like that. So I didn't feel like I got to, in real time, live the Nick Aldis and Tim Storm feud. And I was a little bit sad. I think I told you this, Gary, when we were kind of talking, when I first got in to NWA and was watching, I think, Gary, you and I reviewed Powerrr Episode 1 and 2 together on the Powerrr Rewinds here on this channel. Go check that out. That was my first appearance on this channel, if you're interested. But it was just so cool for me to see that continuity. And one of the highlights for me from 10 pounds of gold was the fact that that Tim Storm didn't just immediately drop the title. And he even talks about that he, Billy Corgan and David Lagana came in, and he just assumed like, oh, I'm out, that they're gonna put the belt on whoever they want and blah, blah, blah. And that didn't happen, as we know. And he is still very much a focal point of the NWA. So giving him this spot on the first NWA Powerrr and having a world's title match as the main event was such a big deal for me as I was watching it. And so as you mentioned before, I ranked these matches in the order that they excited me. This match excited me more than any other match that happened on Powerrr because of everything I just mentioned.
Not to mention, by the way, just the fact that I remember just the excitement going into this, and I traveled to Atlanta to be there for it. I got to interview both men sitting in a press conference beforehand, and both guys were so respectful and cool, and you just couldn't understand how somebody could lose. Like and that's a feeling you just can't top in wrestling. Like when you get to the point that you're like, this is this man's last shot at this title. And also Nick Aldis is the champion, like the champion for the modern era. Both of these men have to win this match. There's no way that one of these men doesn't win. Like it can't happen. And I just remember feeling that, and I had no idea. And it was just impossible to top that anticipation. You can even see me in the background of the clips just being like, what's happening? Like, I just don't know. I don't know that I've ever been more into a match than I was this one live. It was just outstanding. This and like the Marty Skrull Crockett Cup match, I just never felt so much emotion.
Yeah, this is, we've talked about Aldis and when they write the history book years from now, what are going to be his great feuds. And we don't know yet if we've seen his version of Flair Dusty, Flair Steamboat, Flair Harley Race, because you've got other guys that can potentially go in there and do that, like Eddie Kingston or Trevor Murdoch, and have great stories and build a great future with Aldis. But there's no doubting the mutual respect between Aldis and Tim Storm, no doubt about it, regardless of what's happened in there with Strictly Business or whatever. They have just profound respect for one another as competitors. And this match was Ric Flair Harley Race, man. I mean, it's fantastic. Not that it was like Starrcade 83, but it has that level of importance in terms of just the gravity of the feud. And, it's not that Nick Aldis is new to the business. He's been around since 2007, 8, 9, somewhere around there. So he's been in, for 10 plus years. But as still a relatively young man, who's early on in his championship days, even though he's held the belt for 900 days combined reigns, you know, we're still building his legacy. And no doubt when you look back, you're not going to be able to just to emphasize how important Nick Aldis was to Tim Storm, but how important Tim Storm was to Nick Aldis also for establishing Nick Aldis as legitimate and the real world's champion. Not just holding the belt, but really being a man who can defend the belt and do so on a world-class scale. This was an important match, man. And what a way to start out the Powerrr era, which we're still in, by the way, guys. It's not like the Powerrr era has ended. We're just on a pause, but so far, this was the appropriate beginning to this era, and this match towers over all others when it comes to importance.
Yeah, I think you're right. I mean, this is the top 5 of NWA Powerrr so far. So that's how we're looking at this thing. And WWE Front Row echoes your sentiment with a really nice statement here. This match really set the tone for the new NWA and told the world that they're back in a big way. I think that's really it. It was like this from start to finish. I mean, obviously the world's heavyweight champion has to be a part of that, but he goes out and cuts the first promo, which really sets the tone promo-wise and what you can expect emotion-wise and just the attitude. And then that match, you see that match between those two dudes going at it, and it's like, all right, if this is what this is. And I mentioned earlier the Caleb Conley and Eli Drake match. I mean, I thought that match was a great, like, technical wrestling match. But then, yeah, you get this one and just the attitude and the emotion and everything involved. Man, it was great. And just the excitement, the not being able to anticipate what's going to happen from moment to moment, not only in the ring, but just, you know, like Camille taking the shot outside the ring and going down, like, you're like, that's out of nowhere. Like that gives it like a little more edge. You're like, okay, anything could happen. Not the least of which is also see in the chat, people asking about James Lawrence mentions, I never understood the low blow. That was out of nowhere. You're like, Tim Storm, the ultimate babyface, gives Nick Aldis a low blow in the middle of the match. And to me, that always stood out, but it was more of at that moment for me, just to address it, I think that was a statement to how important this moment was, like how desperate Tim Storm was to win, that he needed this title. He couldn't let this be the last time he got close to it. And so he was willing to just go all the way and cheat to win if he had to. He had to do something. So anyway, I could talk all night about the Tim Storm Nick Aldis match.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have a main event for Powerrr Episode 1, literally what two guys would have been bigger? They did it right. I mean, that match should have happened, and it was great.
Yep. So, folks, that's our top 5 matches of the NWA Powerrr era so far. We'd love to hear yours. So, if you're watching this on YouTube, drop them in the comments, drop them in the chat right now. We'd love to get to talk to you guys about what you like. And we're about to head into the after dark section of the program where we just hang out with the chat room. So if you're listening to this on the podcast later, that's a part you're going to miss out on if you don't jump in and come hang out with us live. And, we love you guys and appreciate you listening and everything. We know not everybody can make it here, and sometimes it's easier. That's how we all take in most of our entertainment, is just hanging out and listening to stuff as we go around. But if you could ever join us live, it's a lot of fun just hanging out with these folks and chatting about whatever comes up. We have some pretty interesting conversations, and they're not all about Rob's ball hair. So we hope you'll be able to hang out. But what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap up the podcast portion. We're going to move into the after dark section, get some of the chat room's thoughts on top NWA matches and any other stuff they want to talk about. Before we get there, though, Rob, why don't you tell people where they can find you on the interwebs?
You can find me at Twitter at rstinson4. I'm on Instagram at rdstinson4. And I'm on Facebook at Robert Stinson. I'm not hard to find at all, guys. My content comes on this channel here. This is the NWA podcast. every Friday, Piper's Notes drops. And of course, we've got an episode coming up here in a couple of days. And then you can see me here every Sunday night and Tuesday night.
And Will.
Yeah, at Hey It's Will on Twitter with 1 L. At Hey It's Will on Instagram, TikTok at Real Hey It's Will, and right here on this channel. So stay tuned.
Absolutely. And I am Matt. This is Gary Horn. The podcast on all social media is at the NWA Pod. And folks, just a reminder, you've got until Friday to head over to the NWApod.com to hit that shop up for some hot new hashtag NWA fam merch. It is marked down to basically cost right now and $5 flat rate shipping. You can get whatever you want, shirts, tanks, what else? I don't know. I got some stuff. A coffee mug, a sweet coffee mug. I have it right here in front of me. And just all the cool stuff. So you want to get that stuff for as cheap as you can right now. Nick Aldis has this stuff. He was sporting it on his Instagram today. So you got to be on the lookout. More people are going to have this stuff to come. So keep your eyes peeled. You want to be part of the NWA fam community. That's why we mark this stuff down. But also, we're losing money doing it that way. So we're going to have to like put the money, we're going to mark the prices back up on Friday so that we can, so their wives don't hate us. But I see Pam Fisher got her hashtag NWA fam shirt today. Congratulations.
Hey, can I say something about Polka Dot Pam here? One of the coolest things about doing this the survey of top 5 power matches was seeing Pam Fisher and Heather Hunley and the other members of the hashtag NWA fam in the audience. It's really good to see them again, and can't wait to see them in person.
Nice. And I see people mentioning they got their tracking numbers and everything. So yeah, it should all be going out right now. And we love you guys. So thank you so much for the support. And of course you can also at the NWA Pod, we recommend getting the NWA fam merch, but if you just want to buy us a beer and drop us $3, you can do a one-time donation just to the show to help us pay for having a website and hosting a podcast and all that stuff. We do appreciate that as well. All right. So we're going to move into the after show portion. Thank you, podcast, so much. Guys, stick around. Let's talk about whatever you guys want to talk about from here on. But to the podcast listeners, thank you so much and enjoy your gravy cake. All right. And we're clear for the podcast part.
All right. Great show.
Oh, now we don't have to act so professional. I can take my pants off finally.
Will can get off our backs.
Why did you have pants on?
Yeah, that's a good question. Oh, so what do you guys want to do? I see Brian Rose is already stirring crap in the chat room, asking if we want to see NWA wrestlers in the AEW. What do you guys think about that? You want to see some NWA in the AEW?
I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm not. I want the wrestlers to be able to advance themselves. I don't want it to take away from the NWA. I'd like there to be a collegiality between what I consider cousin promotions, where there's some intramural partnership going on and talent could go back and forth. I'd love to see, obviously Cody and all this again. I'd like to see, I'd love to see somebody like Penelope Ford hook it up with Thunder Rosa. That'd be fantastic. I know they've wrestled before. I'd like to see it again. So yeah, I mean, I'm not opposed to it as long as it doesn't take away from our brand.
That is also how I feel.
Hot take, everyone. Hot take from Gary.
Oh man. All right. Gams out, Gary. Hold on. What are the gams? I don't even know.
I think you meant to say gums out, Gary. I don't have big gums of yours.
Do I have big gums? Now I'm like self-conscious.
No, you're right. You don't. You don't have big gums.
You have incredibly average gums.
Yeah.
Oh man. I try to brush my teeth every day and twice a day actually. So I do a pretty decent job. Let's see here.
Who on the independent side would you like to see? Who on the independents today would you like to see in the NWA once tapings resume? That's Jonathan Darwin asking a fantastic question. Man, there are some guys up here in my part of Georgia that are amazing talents. There's a tag team by the name of the Jungle Kings, Lex Lee and Kevin Kaufman. And then there's a young Tennessee boy named Alex Taylor, who Sandoval is familiar with, actually trained in the Seth Rollins school and is a friend and associate of Crimson, and has done work throughout the region. Brian Valor, there's all kinds of names up in, I mean, Georgia's got a pretty vibrant independent scene, and that's kind of what I'm familiar with because that's the circles that I run in. Tennessee's got a real vibrant scene, but there I would start with because we all are fans of tag team wrestling. I'd like to see the Jungle Kings, Lex Lee and Kevin Kaufman get in there, and they're smaller guys. I mean, they're they're in shape fellows, don't get me wrong, but they're of this sort of after the mold of a Young Bucks type look. They're smaller guys, cut up, high flying ability, but uber talented, great mic work. Lex Lee comes from he's a second generation wrestler. His father is the very notorious Nature Boy Paul Lee, who people have very strong feelings about him. But no one can doubt his ability to promote and work and get heat. And Lex, learned directly from his dad and does a great job. And so I very much encourage you guys to get on the internet and look up some Jungle King stuff. They do a show, an empty arena show called AWF Viral that you can find on YouTube, and you can see some of the talent that comes through North Georgia. And I'd love to see some of those guys enter the NWA.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I'm seeing some names getting dropped in here from Brian Rosa, Chandler Hopkins. I just looked him up, the young gun Chandler Hopkins. He's got a good look, man. I think that would be pretty awesome. Barrett Brown, Levi Shapiro. See front row mentioning the Revolt, Caleb Conley and Zane Riley. Yeah, Zane is Caleb's partner on the indies around the Carolinas, and they have a solid tag team. JR Kratos, AR Fox, GPA. So we're seeing a lot of names thrown out here. I'm going to always mention Savannah Evans. I'd love to see Savannah Evans make her way into the NWA at some point. I'd be cool with somebody like this Warhorse guy showing up at some point. I think he seems kind of interesting. I'd like to see what he has to offer. I guess they're signed, but who I always think would be cool is like an MLW. There's the Von Erichs. I think those guys would be really cool to see. Willie Boa just mentioned Kevin Von Erich's sons. Yeah. And James Lawrence mentioned Mance Warner, who I've seen in MLW, and he seems like he'd fit right in. Also Watts from Championship Wrestling from Hollywood would be cool to see him walk out in the studio at some point.
I guess Lindsay Snow is considered independent, right? So the Kaiju, she would be
100% Lindsay Snow. Yeah.
I don't think we've yet seen her Circle Squared match yet, so I don't want to.
We have not
any of that and go into that because hopefully that's still coming. But gosh, man, I mean, she's had a legendary feud with Danny Jordan. They always seem to be talking about each other. She hopefully is going to be locking horns with the great Thunder Rosa here in the near future. And she is someone that has just got a fantastic look, is crazy talented in the ring, can go with anybody. And I think whoever gets Lindsay Snow signed, whether it's the WWE, NXT, AEW, or NWA, or Ring of Honor, whoever, they've got a treasure right there. She's going to be able to tell some stories.
Yeah, I'd say top of my list. We mentioned it already, but the Revolt, Caleb Connolly's tag team. I'm a tag team guy. I think they're great. What I've seen of them, I think they'd fit in the NWA. Caleb's already obviously been a part as a singles competitor, but and then also I don't know if he counts as an independent. He's currently under non-compete, I think, still from WWE. But Joe Henning, I can't say it enough. I want to see Joe Henning in NWA. I want to see him feud with Nick Aldis. And then we mentioned MLW, and I know he's kind of making waves in AEW right now, but Brian Pillman Jr., there's already been some synergy there with him and Eli on the Eli Drake show. But I think just with his name, obviously, but his ability, I think he would fit in really well in some NWA stuff. So
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I'm really interested in this in the Mission Pro lineup that's kind of materializing here, and some of the teasers that have been thrown out. I know Mr. Rosa put out the Lindsay Snow promo earlier today or yesterday or sometime. So I can't wait to see some of those. I really, really want to beef up our tag team division, and our women's division is top notch, man. I just want to add to it. I want to get more names in there to go.
Well, that's why I mentioned the Revolt at the top of my list, because I think that the tag team division in the NWA, those belts to me are so prestigious. All the titles in the NWA are prestigious, but there's just such a rich history with those tag belts, and then just reliving the Rock and Roll Express winning it reinforced that for me. But there's just a lot of opportunity there, and I know we lost the Dawsons, right? And you're big fans of the Dawsons, Rob, but there's some spots to fill in there. I know we've got Kingston and Homicide, but now Kingston's potentially singles feud with Aldis, which we covered on Sunday. So I think there's a big opportunity there for some tag teams to come in, some established tag teams like the Revolt. And unfortunately, I don't have any other indie guys tag teams like that on the radar. But I think and hope that the NWA scouts would. And so hopefully they can put something together to beef up that tag division.
Yeah, it's tough because you never know like how stacked they're trying to get the roster, since it is a short show and it's kind of booked from moment to moment. But yeah, and even if they have I'm still all for them having the ability to have talent flow in and out, like even if it's only for the good part is like to book somebody like whoever, like say they want to book this, like Watts, they bring him in for like one weekend and you've already got a, whole season out of him basically. So it's kind of interesting that way. So, but yeah, there's a lot of names getting dropped in our chat room right now. Damian Wayne, I've heard of him. He's the son of Bruce Wayne. He's a Batman character. The Diamante, she was in LAX, right? I feel like we brought her up talking about Eddie Kingston the other day. And Dave Scooby's hoping that Mission Pro can help expand the women's division in the NWA, sister promotions down the line. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I don't know, any details on how closely tied together they're going to be, but I'm all for the idea of the NWA working closely with other promotions, like having brother and sister promotions like Championship Wrestling from Hollywood and Mission Pro and whoever else is willing to do the business and just help each other out with talent and like circulate talent and that sort of thing. Honestly, everybody should be doing that because that's the way that wrestling worked best for decades. I think that like you do the best you can in one place, and then before you get worn down, you move on to another place and maybe you learn some new stuff before you come back and you got something new going on. So there's nothing wrong with that. I think that'd be an excellent idea. I have it on good authority based on these chats that we're going to see some crossover with the NWA and Mission Pro, possibly, at least in the fact that Thunder Rosa will be wrestling. So I'd be very interested to see what they can throw together. And Sergio Diaz, thinking a couple more women would be great. The top tier is excellent. Lacey Evans would be perfect there, but just a pipe dream though. But yeah, I could see Lacey Evans fitting right in.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Let's see. But yeah, James Lawrence mentioned the NWA picking up some of that former WWE talent that was released. Will, you mentioned the I don't know why I lost my train of thought. You mentioned I need my tequila. Where's my tequila?
Did I mention? I don't know if I
You
did.
mentioned Joe hitting a lot. That's where I'm trying to go. I got distracted. I lost my train of thought. So Joe hitting a lot. Is he like your top pick? Like out of if we just want to like have fun and fantasy book here, like WWE guys coming to NWA?
Yep, he would be top. I can't say it enough. I just think his talent was underutilized. His gimmicks were poorly executed. I mean, it's to me, it's akin to Cody Rhodes and what he's been able to do. And so I just, in the back of my mind, I just have this sneaking suspicion that he could do the same thing with his ability. And we've heard the champ talk about him. We've heard Nick Aldis confirm that, they were at Harley Race's camp together, and he said that Joe was excellent. And that's Nick Aldis is not going to say that about just any hack, So I mean, that's high praise. And so that gives me all the confidence in the world that he could come into a place like the NWA, make a name for himself and really display what he's capable of, something that I don't think we have even seen glimpses of, especially later in his WWE tenure with the B team and stuff like that. It was a comedy gimmick and it got over, but I think there's so much more to Joe that we don't know. And I'm such a big fan of Mr. Perfect, of his dad, and that just the opportunity to see that next generation of Hennig, it really excites me. So that's one of the reasons why that keeps popping up for me. And as I said, Nick Aldis just kind of stoked the fire when he mentioned it in his What Culture interview, I believe, is where he mentioned that, and just kept it going. And Front Row mentioned it, but yeah, I think some of the non-competes end this week. So I don't, he may pop up somewhere on a per appearance basis, or he may be waiting and pop up in the NWA. I don't know.
Yeah. For what it's worth, Brian Rosa mentioned in the chat that they cost too much. They'd charge too much and add little value long term, which I think is a fair assessment. I mean, that's a possibility. Like maybe there's nobody in that crop that's worth the price they would charge. I guess they'd have to be willing to do business, see what their opportunities are. But if we're fantasy booking, I am currently wearing the shirt of that is an EC3 shirt. So what he's been doing on his own, just for the hell of it, has been very cool to me and impressive. And that's coming from a guy who did not care about EC3. I thought he had a banger of a song, but in the end, I didn't really, I wasn't that worried about him. I thought he was completely misused, but I've never been like some huge EC3 mark. But the EC3 that's out there right now on social media doing EC3 stuff that he's doing right now, that guy's cool. There's something special about that guy. Like, that guy intrigues me and captures my imagination. Like, I want to see what he could do in some place like the NWA that would want him to just totally use that creative ability of his. Rob, you got anybody out of the current recently released crop of WWE superstars you'd rather see or you'd like to see show up?
Hold on, man. Let me put my magazine down. No, I'm kidding. No, I mean everybody.
Are you reading a magazine?
Well, see, I thought this was the NWA podcast, and I was just ranting about Sting. No, I'm kidding. No, every EC3, man, like you said, he'd be my big one. You guys have mentioned all the ones. I don't have anything to add to them. I'm less familiar with them than you guys are. But my number one draft pick would be EC3.
Nice.
So, yeah.
So I'm right officially. The other question I am curious, because I see you, Brian Rose, in the chat, and I think that you honestly, like, if we're just being straight up, I think you're right. He's saying the NWA should work on developing their own talent and then work on keeping them. I think that's absolutely true. I think that they've proven here with Power, with guys like Ricky Starks, there's people out there. I wish they could have hung on to Ricky Starks, to be honest. And but I think I think the NWA right now has some great talent already. So they've got enough to make an impact. But again, let me play devil's advocate. Let's just play for the fun of it, just for the fun of it. I want to see with you guys out there, you get one. You can only take one person. And it can't be, I mean, you know what? Whoever. I was going to say it can't be somebody stupid like The Rock or somebody like that. But if you could pick one person, currently wrestling right now in any company, you get one choice, and whoever you pick will come over to the NWA and they'll help you out. Who would it be? I want to hear it. I want to see it in the chat.
Cena.
Stinson says Cena.
I'm kidding.
I believe you. I mean,
I don't know, man. I just can't see him in NWA. Nobody? Come on.
Are we talking to chat or are we asking us?
We're asking us too. We're having the conversation while we get the chat time to chime in. And I'm not even talking, by the way, guys, I'm not even talking recent releases. I'm talking anybody active right now who you think fits the mold of what you'd like to see in the NWA and who you think could benefit them. Like who's the MVP? And if it's MVP, fair enough, that you would bring over to the NWA right now that's out there somewhere wrestling.
I mean, my answer is going to sound like kind of a cop-out. There are others. I mean, I'd certainly like to see Cody or Chris Jericho come in, and that'd be pretty incredible. But I'd like to see Ricky Starks come back and have a long tenure in the NWA, and have have many titles and eventually be maybe the guy to chase Aldis for the belt. I'd love to see Ricky Starks back. So I know that's almost like a cop-out, but I didn't want to lose him, and I hope we haven't lost him.
I want honest opinions. If it's Ricky Starks, it's Ricky Starks. If Ricky Starks is now an AEW superstar. So he is no longer with the NWA. So that's fair. You can bring him back. You have that power. I just gave it to you. I see Terry McDermott saying Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne would be his number one draft pick. That's an interesting choice, but I can tell. I mean, he fits perfectly. I think he looks like he belongs there. That definitely works. Brian Rosa says nobody. Brian, you seem bitter against every other promotion. There has to be somebody. You can think of somebody, Brian. Sergio Diaz says Lacey Evans or Asuka. I could see either one of them in the NWA, actually. I think either one of them would probably work.
I probably, if not counting Ricky Starks, my number one draft would probably be Lindsay Snow. I'd love to see her in the NWA. I think she would be a great. That Lindsay Snow Thunder Rosa feud could be epic.
Yeah. We got Front Row in the chat saying, if we're fantasy booking, I'd pay folding money for Thunder Rosa, a Shayna Baszler match.
You're talking about Washington. Paying them Washingtons now.
You should call me Aaron. Well, I mean, I was about to say, you can call me Aaron Burr with the way I'm dropping Hamiltons right now. You know what I'm saying?
It's like you may not talk to me, but maybe you'll talk to my friend George Washington and his twin brother George Washington.
Oh man!
You're talking about quarters.
Right. Quarters.
Talking about one
Jonathan
spot.
Darwin says, one spot. Jonathan Darwin with Randy Orton. The only problem I see with Randy Orton is like he doesn't seem like he cares about anything anymore.
No.
That's the only problem with Randy Orton. I mean, I think he's good. I think Randy Orton is still potentially, like if he's interested, one of the best. But anyway, Brian Rosa did settle in finally and say, all right, I'll take Santana Garrett, former NWA champion, and WWE is wasting her. So that is true. She is, not doing so hot over in WWE. Come on, kind of knew it, right? Like, I mean, I just never have faith in anything they do. But Santana Garrett had a great match with Allison Kay at Crockett Cup 2019. All right, Will, take your shot.
Goldberg. Just kidding.
I mean,
Gilberg. Sorry, I said it.
All right, fair enough.
No, I would say. I mean, it's tough, man, because like, you know, I would have a long list of guys that if I'm fantasy booking, I would just love to see who they could be in the NWA, because I feel like WWE has squandered them. I tweeted about it over the weekend, but Cesaro would be one of them. Shinsuke Nakamura would be one of them.
Oh man, I forgot about Shinsuke. Yes,
those two would be the top of my list. If we could bring them in as a tag team, is that a loophole? Can we bring those guys in as a tag team? Let's just do that.
I would almost give you that, but mainly just because my number one draft pick would be Cesaro. Like my fantasy booking would be you bring Cesaro in and let that man be the new Luthez, like he was meant to be, and pit him up against Nick Aldis one-on-one. Like let them go.
And maybe Kevin Owens for me, honestly, because when you talk about, I mean, dude, a Kevin Owens Eddie Kingston feud, I know they had one when he was Kevin Steen. I'd love to see that now again in the NWA. I think that would be money. But yeah.
Why are you shaking your head about Cesaro, Stinson? You over there munching on whatever snack you got tonight, and you're just like shaking your head when I said Cesaro, and you were like, nah, disgusting.
Does Rob have a concession stand in his garage or something? He just always has snacks.
And my wife's out there making pasta for the kids and stuff, and it smells so good. And I'm like, hey, throw me something. Boom, this is what I got. A bag of
barbecue chip.
Barbecue chip. Nah.
You don't like Cesaro?
I do. He's okay. I mean, I he's. I don't know. I mean, I guess maybe he's never, in my estimation, maybe he's never been properly used. I hate saying that because it's not like I know better than the story writers do over there. Just it's what floats your boat. But I never really felt him. And that's a subjective thing. But I just never really felt him. I see like MJF in the being mentioned by Rose. I feel him. I don't like him. He does some things that I think cross the line. But to me, like I think that's the potential wise, the sky's the limit for him, man. He's got talent up to the stratosphere. Cesaro, I got nothing against Cesaro. He's kind of like, and again, I don't want to say this and piss a lot of people off, but he's like, for me, like Colt Cabana. I know a lot of people respect him, as I do, but I never felt him. Like I never got into Colt Cabana, and Cesaro reminds me of him sort of somewhat, so getting no shade. They're great guys, and obviously Colt Cabana is a two-time world champion, and he did very important work for the NWA, and Adam Pearce and many others think the world of him. And so I'm not going to presume to know better than them, but I just never felt Cesaro. I never felt him.
Well, you're wrong.
Well, yeah, I feel like you're just wrong, but okay, fair enough. So what?
You were saying you thought that Randy Orton was good too. It's like, are you freaking kidding me? He's terrible.
Randy Orton is not terrible. Randy Orton is a very talented individual. He just does not. He doesn't care.
My least favorite wrestler
like he just
in the universe.
Least favorite wrestler
in the universe now. He's my least favorite.
Not just the world.
Not you mean worlds, not just the worlds.
No, not in the world.
No, I'm not a Randy Orton fan.
How is he the least favorite? Is it something to do with the military thing?
We want to go. We want to go there.
No,
nope.
I'm just asking.
Yeah, it has something to do with that. But let's move on.
Is Gronk a free agent now? Technically, I'm just kidding. Sorry. I'm just trying to change the subject.
God, I thought it was a fun topic. It was just an idea. I see Kevin Owens, Damian Priest, the Briscoes, for God's sake. Yeah. How can I forget the Briscoes? They belong there. Yeah. I just want the Crockett Cup to finally come back, and I want to see the Briscoes in it. I want to see the Von Erichs in it. I want to see FTR in it, and the wild cards. I need, gosh, man, I don't care. Bring back the Dudleys. I just want all the tag teams that I ever loved in the Crockett Cup.
Well, here's a
What
little
about Smokey, man? Randy and Bill Mulkey, man. Put them jokers in.
Here's a little spoiler.
That'd be a good idea.
Here's a spoiler for this upcoming Friday hot tag with J Cal and myself. We're actually going to be talking about the Crockett Cup 2020, what could have been. And J Cal has put together a list of what he had confirmed as participants and things like that for the Crockett Cup. So we're going to talk through that for a little bit. So make sure you join us on Instagram Live Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, to join in the chat about that.
Oh, that's interesting. Sergio's throwing in the Iconics, and now the Iconics. Billy Kay, Peyton Royce, game over. Sorry, guys. All right. Does anybody else have a better question than that one for funsies? I was just trying to have a good time, and Rob's getting pissy about every name I say.
Let's let Rob give us a topic so he doesn't check out.
Favorite color of Freebird Stardust? I like the teal. I happen to like the teal Stardust. No. I'm just giving you a hard time, man. You know, I don't really think Randy Orton's the worst wrestler in the universe. I don't care. Cesaro, I just never felt. I think he's plenty talented, and if he were, I always felt like he. What was the Del Rio, man? I always liked that guy, and so.
I'm glad you said that because I always found him boring. So now we can just at least have that with each other.
And I would say I would join in with that and say that I too found him boring, but I don't want to gang up on Rob, so I'm not going to say it.
Brian Rosa, you throwed a bunch of garbage in this chat room, and I want to know, because I feel like you should have insight into some of these things, and you just be saying stuff. So now he's throwing in there that the NWA invasion angle on AEW is coming.
You know.
So where is that coming from, Brian? Because that's
cite your sources.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this NWA 70 poster over here, and it's like the playbill, and it's like it reads as a who's who of AEW talent right now, Like you got 10 names. The NWA invasion's already happened.
Well, Dave Scooby makes a good point. I mean, let's hope so. The only way I'd watch AEW. I honest to God right now don't watch any other wrestling. I've just stopped watching wrestling, which is sad because my next, I just talked some trash about Brian Rosa and I'm about to suck up to him big time. My next most looked forward to show is Mission Pro, Hell Hath No Fury. I hope all of you in the chat right now, I hope you know about Hell Hath No Fury. It's coming up on September 18th. That's a Friday. And it is going to be a who's who of ladies wrestlers. Not the ladies wrestlers that you see on your mainstream TV. The mainstream media tries to push on you every single day. We're talking about the real women's wrestlers. We're talking about the real women's world champion. Thunder Rosa is going to be there. Brian Rosa's fantasy babe, Lindsay Snow, the American Kaiju, is going to be there. And so many others. In fact, I could just pull up right here, I'm sure. And I think I will, just because you guys need to know about it.
I'm with you, Gary. Like y'all, I don't really watch a whole lot besides the NWA. I mean, I do. I will briefly scan through the NXT stuff. I usually watch AEW Dark and just scan through it. But y'all keep bringing up all these obscure people no one's ever heard of, like Kevin Owens. No, who's ever heard of Kevin Owens? Who's ever heard of Dave McIntyre or Brian Strawman or whatever. No one's ever heard of those guys. I have no clue. You know,
Just eat your chips, Rob.
Bailey and Stacia Banks. Ain't nobody ever heard of no Stacia Banks or
Wilson Martin, the most patient man in the world I know, is like, he's done with your shit, Rob. Just eat your chips, man.
Aaron Cole. No one's ever heard of Aaron Cole or TJ Styles.
Aaron Cole, yay. We all know him.
Now, hey, nary one of y'all heard of TJ Styles, man. Come on now.
PJ Styles?
PJ Styles, man. He ain't never done nothing. Alexis Bliss.
Man, I do know that Mission. Who'd you say, Alexis Smith?
Alexis Bliss or whatever. Ain't nobody ever heard of her. I'm just giving these guys heck, man. I'm just having fun. That's all.
I'm glad you're having fun.
Yeah, it is kind of fun. Hell Hath No Fury, Friday, September the 18th in Buda, Texas, 15201 South IH35 Frontage Road. Yeah, you can get missionprowrestling.net. You can get your tickets. You can go there and you can see this thing, or you can get it on streaming. And I just forgot it was damn it. I just forgot it was where it was streaming. But I'll find out. I'll let you know. Alex Garcia, Sky Blue, Baby D, Mandy Rinkowski, Jenna Lynn, La Rosa Negra. They're all going to be there. Lindsay Snow's going to be there. Thunder Rosa's going to be there. I see some more names than this that are listed on this website. So maybe you're tripping.
And if we find out that the Burke is being defended, man, the Bearded Trio is going to be there too. Best believe. Along with WWE Front Row and Scooby and many, many more. Yep.
We've heard the rumors. It'll be a title match over there. Brian Rosas teasing it in the chat room again. Fantasy booking from Jonathan Darwood. Who would you like to see Zicky Dice feud with over the NWA TV title?
I'm gonna tell you right now too. I'm gonna put Brian Rosa on the spot. I've been meaning to DM him, but I want Rosa on Piper's notes, man. I want Rosa on Piper's notes, and I don't want to talk a music video. I want to do like some legendary Godzilla clips. He loves
Piper
Godzilla.
Ever seen a Godzilla?
Yes, we watch quirky movies like that, and you know, some of the old Godzilla movies like that might appear on Mystery Science Theater, you know. But I was telling her the other day, we were in Target looking at the Godzilla figures, and I was like, you know who really loves Godzilla, man? Thunder Rosa and her husband Brian Cervantes, Brian Rosa. It's just like, oh, we could talk about Jaws or Godzilla. It's like, well, let me send him a private message, but I hadn't gotten around to it yet, so it's coming, Mr. Rosa.
Godzilla, I love Godzilla just for the fun of it. Like, I like kaiju, like, just in general, which is part of the reason I love Lindsay Snow too, because I'm just like, oh, what a cool name, American kaiju, all that stuff. Also, she's a badass. But yeah, Godzilla, the original, like 1954 Godzilla, man, that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And we did a episode on it over at Psychotronic Film Society. Yep, because love that
Brian
movie.
Rosa is like one of the most intense Godzilla fans in the world. You know, he loves Godzilla.
That's awesome. Brian Rosa, our boy Brian Solomon, by the way, if you don't know this already, he wrote Pro Wrestling FAQ, but he also has a book that I bought at the same time called Godzilla FAQ. So he just it's like just a whole
by the way,
book,
like
as thick as that Pro Wrestling FAQ book, but
yeah, and Solomon's like, man, I expected my Pro Wrestling FAQ book to sell like crazy. It was my Godzilla book that just went nuts, man. That's what I'm, you know, funding my life off of right now. So
yeah,
Godzilla
no, it's awesome. but Godzilla. This is not a Godzilla podcast, but since James Lawrence is into it, let's just say that Godzilla 1954 is it's an amazing allegory for World War II and the dropping of the bombs. It's very cool. Love that stuff. Let's talk about, Brian Rosa says Godzilla versus Kong equals thunder versus snow. I love that. See, now, dude, God bless it. You guys are over in Texas. That is so far away from me, and it will require me to risk myself against so much COVID. But I just want to see that match so bad. I just want to see it and yell during it, and all those things are things that put me at risk.
I'm ready to go right now.
I'll get my goddamn.
I'm ready to go right now. Let's get on a plane.
I'll just put on a hazmat suit. I'm in. But I love it. Oh man. By the way, Alex Hammerstone, I keep seeing his name. Yeah, that dude. I'm a huge fan of that guy, and I haven't even seen much of his matches. I just like him. I just think he's a cool wrestler. He seems like a good, genuine dude and just really wants to be a great wrestler. So I respect that. And he's also trying to just beat Hulk Hogan in muscle size and stuff, which I think is interesting.
Man, who is the guy? His name escapes me at the moment. I don't even know if he's active right now, but he's an Italian wrestler. He was in the WWE and he had sort of a committee, sort of a kind
Santino Marella.
Santino, man. I would love to see him as kind of a foil to Aaron Stevens, dude. That would be. They could probably do an epic series of matches, man.
Some days I think you're all about some serious wrestling. You just bring in this garbage.
All right, man. I'm gonna go back to.
I got you, Rob. We'll just hang Gary out to dry. If y'all gonna keep talking about Godzilla, I'm just gonna read.
No, you know what, bro? I want you to thumb through that Pro Wrestling Illustrated. You tell me where Aaron Stevens and Santino rank in any of that 500.
I'll tell you right now who this issue came out. Look, this is the November 1990 issue. I got this in the lead up to our deep dive on Great American Bash 1990. And just
all right.
a little interesting note here. Looking at the NWA top 10, where's those rankings at? I just saw them. Number 3 on that rankings, believe it or not, was Mr. Heart Punch himself, Mean Mark Callis, was number 3 in the NWA when this came out.
Nice.
Sting is ranked number 1, Luger number 2, Flair Sting's the champ, Luger number 1, Flair number 2, Mark Callis number 3, Arn Anderson number 4, JYD number 5, Paul Orndorff number 6, Rotunda number 7, Stan Lariat Hansen 8, Barry Windham, followed by Tommy Rich rounding out the top 10. And of course, simultaneously, the Ultimate Warrior was the champion over there in the WWF, and Larry Zbyszko was the champion of the AWA. So just a little throwback since we just discussed that. But
it's a shame old Mark Callis couldn't ever get his career off the ground.
I know.
He never did anything. He never did nothing, that Mark Callis. I told him, I said, you're garbage and you'll always be garbage. Brian Rosa says every promotion needs a little bit of garbage to keep it interesting. It's fine. I'm fine with some comedy. It wasn't until Stinson. I'm giving him a bunch of crap, but it wasn't until I saw Stinson and his lovely family that I understood the question mark in Aaron Stevens. I was like, all right, I'm on board. Let him live. Let him work.
Let him live.
But, yeah, so whatevs. What else? Oh, favorite wrestling movie is the question in the chat right now. Mine's always going to be No Holds Barred. It just is. We just did that movie. I put it out on the podcast feed for this show, but I really love that movie. It's so stupid. It's just the worst movie, but Hulk Hogan is just everything you'd hope he'd be in a movie.
Nacho Libre, does that count?
That's probably a better choice.
What about They Live? Does that count?
No, because if you're talking about movies starring wrestlers, then yeah, 100%. That's
You
mine.
just have to say no, Gary. That's all. You just had to say no. You had to demean me.
Well, it wasn't a no, it wasn't like an angry no addressed to you. It was more of an angry no, like I didn't think of that. And now I'm pissed at myself, that I could have thought of Roddy Piper and They Live, and now I chose shitty No Holds Barred.
No Holds Barred is good though, man. No Holds Barred. I would have said that too because that's the first one that comes to mind. But of course, The Wrestler was so good. Matt Cross recently did a movie that's really. It's not like. It's a low budget film, but it's really fascinating because you see everybody's in there, and like Britt Baker's in there, and some other talents. It's really fascinating to see him, and of course we like Matt Cross.
It's called Powerrr. Did you see it?
Yeah. Tanya and I watched it. Yeah, I have it. There's also Pro Wrestlers versus Zombies, and then there's Slaw, which are these parody movies that a lot of folks were involved with, from Roddy Piper to Shane Douglas to my really good friend, the Nature Boy Paul Lee, Kevin Nash. But they're parody movies. They're poking fun at the sport and each other in good humor. I mean, it's not anything demeaning to the sport, but you wouldn't call them Academy Award material like you would The Wrestler now. That movie, what? If you've ever been involved in the indie scene backstage, like I'm sure Brian Rosa knows very well in WWE Front Row, they probably have seen this up close, but that's exactly, they nailed it, man. That is accurate.
Front Row says he always recommends Fighting With My Family to casual fans who want to know more about what it takes to be a wrestler. Just a fun film. I saw that movie. I'm going to be honest with you. It got so built up. I was so disappointed. I was not disappointed. I thought it was fine. But yeah, you're probably right. For a casual fan, I'm sure that works. Brian Rosa, best movie match, Spider-Man versus Bone Crusher. No, sir. It's Bonesaw. Bonesaw is ready.
You're
going nowhere.
Rocky 3, it's got a wrestling element to it, very prominently. Put Hogan on the map as a mainstream, outside of the business personality, and was influential in building that rock and wrestling connection around the time of the first WrestleMania. So that was pretty important.
Well, it's worth mentioning if we're going to just throw these out there. I mean, Ready to Rumble's out there. I just watched that not too long ago. That movie is.
What's the Netflix? Mass Fan was alluding to a Netflix series, I think, about lucha wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's called.
And I looked for it. I couldn't find it. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna try to get a hold of him and see if I can't get a hold of it.
I feel like I know this is the name of a movie, but I feel like it's The Saint. But I could be wrong. And yeah, it's about a lucha. Let me look it up.
I'm looking now. Yeah, there is one called The Saint.
Yeah, there's also a one, and I think it's a Japanese movie called something about I think it was Japanese. Either something about my father is a wrestler, a heel, or something like that. And it's just recently. It's within the last few years that was pretty good.
Weird. I don't see anything right off the head either. Have you guys seen in the chat room too the movie The Wrestler? Not with Mickey Rourke though, the other one.
Talking about the old one that Vern Gagne put out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I have that somewhere in my resource files. But yeah, it's a good one too. It's classic.
Your resource files? What'd you say?
Yeah, my resource files, man.
Okay.
Every Dr. Red will tell you every doctor's got some resource files.
Front Row Battle Royale is not a wrestling movie. But it is funner than hell. This is apparently in okay. So 1974, The Wrestler. With Vern Gagne, Billy Robinson. It's got Don Morocco, Danny Hodge, Dan Gable. Vince McMahon's in it too.
Who?
The Crusher.
Mm-hmm.
Wahoo McDaniel.
Man, I was looking for my Masked Fan messages, and I noticed Masked Fan has changed his Twitter name to.
Oh, dude, have you not seen what he's been doing? He's got like a weird, like, look at his profile. He's got like a video like about deciphering a code right now. This guy's always into some junk, man. I don't know what's going on with that, but interesting stuff from the Masked Fan. If you guys haven't checked that out, I don't know what's going on. Did you guys ever see that one movie with the MMA stuff? The what was it called?
Never Back Down.
But I'm into that too. Warrior is what I'm thinking of. Oh, yeah. Warrior, and it has, yeah. I thought that movie was kind of fun. But Never Back Down's fun. Anyone have thoughts about the upcoming Hulk Hogan biopic? Yeah, I'm gonna watch it.
Good thought. That's a good thought.
Thank you. I just want to see Chris Hemsworth do the Hulk Hogan impersonation.
I'll watch it. I'm not like stoked about it. And that's not.
Let me tell you something, Mean Gene.
Yeah, I just don't know.
I feel like you do.
Say that again, Gary.
At this point in history, I don't know that at this point in history it's going to have the shine that it once would have. So I don't
know. What if it delves into like all of his fun stuff like later in life?
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like I don't
like
know.
Hogan Knows Best. That very fun series.
Yeah.
Probably a little after that. Yeah, Damian Redmond, the one with Tom Hardy's the one I'm thinking of with Warrior. That's that one. What you gonna do, brother? You know what I'm saying?
Whoa! What?
Keep it going. Let's hear the whole promo.
The whole promo. Well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene. Hulk Hogan's been around the world, dude. I've seen people come and see people go, but I'm always going to be the world heavyweight champion, dude. So, oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light, Sergeant Slaughter, that I'll be the next WWF champion, and you're just going to be another victim of Twilight's last screaming.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I'm just writing down
micro content right there.
Yeah, bro. I'm just writing down the timestamp right now so I can edit this into a micro content post tomorrow. Look at that on Instagram. All right.
Oh man, WrestleMania 7, baby, all of it, all day long.
Man, if we happen to do Bearded Trio the movie, who would you cast as each of us?
Oh man, Beyond the Mat was good. I see Brian Russo
mentioned that. Man?
Gary just walk into outer space, Rob.
I just thought he said it like right then. I just it came through right then. I'm sure he said it beforehand, but whatever, guys. Whatever. Try to be a jerk.
And we all have to be played by professional wrestlers. That makes it even harder. So what professional wrestlers would play us in a movie about us?
Right. It's got to be a professional wrestler, so you can't say like a manager like Harvey Wimpleman for me.
Why not? Oh, man.
Rob had to get ahead of that.
Are we supposed to guess? Well,
we can weigh in on it. Let's say I don't know who would play.
That'd be a great topic for a whole episode of the podcast.
I swear to God, if one of y'all says Bastion Booger for me or something, I'll be so mad.
I'm looking at
Bastion Booger.
Trying to think who would
who'd be Rob? Booker T.
Oh, easy, man. Me? Shoot. Probably Dave Grohl or it's got to be a wrestler, huh?
Yeah,
I was gonna say
Wrestler.
Rob's
Brad
Rob
Pitt.
First of all,
Rob will
Brad
not
Pitt,
sign
get off
over
your
the rights.
own wiener.
Rob will not sign over the rights unless Nick Aldis plays him. That's the only way that this movie would even get off the ground.
Boom. Boom.
Oh my God. Brian Rosa threw a
Can you just
bastard booger for me.
Imagine the
So.
scene with Nick Aldis. All right, you can find me on @Austin or on the TikTok. You can also find me on MySpace as Tom Fool.
I think he wouldn't try to.
Oh, dude, Brian Rosa says Spike Dudley for you, Rob. And he's a teacher, right? So
hey, I'd like to
Samoa
see
Joe for Will, Brody King for Gary, Aaron Stevens for Stetson.
I like that. Yeah, how did we not just go to Aaron Stevens, right? I mean, he's an actor already.
Oh yeah,
I will say I like the Samoa Joe, and I would love to see him with a full beard. So that would be because he'd have to grow a beard if he was playing me in a movie. So that would be really interesting.
Rosa also says Kevin Owens could play you, Will.
Yeah, well, Kevin Owens is already going to play J. Cal in the Alliance documentary, or not documentary, but reenactment. So I don't know. I guess he could.
I think that for the movie, we'd have to have more of a rivalry with the Alliance blog, so that there has to be a fight. I mean, if you're going to have Samoa Joe and
they'd make it real dramatic.
And Kevin Owens,
that'd be a great feud.
They got to fight at some point.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean that's not bad,
man. That's Damian Redmond's my new best friend, man. You guys are out. He said Johnny Swinger would play me. Heck yeah.
Johnny Swinger.
Gary's looking it up.
I am. I'm looking him up. I'm like, who?
See, when it comes to these obscure people like TJ Styles, he's like, yeah, I know. But when it comes to a prominent guy like Johnny Swinger, he's got to look him up, man. I'm completely baffled.
Works for Impact. Yeah. Sounds like where Rob would be.
You know what, man? You know what?
I would.
Dave Scooby says. Dave Scooby says Braun Strowman is Gary, but on his knees.
Yeah, maybe a little lower.
I'll be honest with you. Anybody who plays Gary's Gary. They gonna be on.
Just stop right
there. You know what I'm saying? That's how I got this job.
It's not a job.
Well, you tell me that now, Will. What was so bad?
Oh gosh, yeah.
I don't know, man. It was weird after like Rotella and I broke apart. Will was like, "If you want to keep that podcast, there's one way to keep it." And I don't know. Anyway, let's move on to more wholesome things. Piper would be played by Alexa Bliss. I could see that. Same height.
You know who else is the same height as Piper, man? Freaking Lady Gaga, man. We went to the Wax Museum there. We were telling you guys about that at Summit. And they build them to like height. I was like, holy cow, she is short, man. Like Piper's like her exact height.
Wow.
Anyway.
That's weird. Well, I'm sorry, Damian Redmond. I did not know that Johnny Swinger has been in business for 4 decades. I didn't know who he was. I'm not saying that that's not on me. I mean, I'm sure it's on me. I don't know the guy. I know who Disco Inferno is. It's the same thing. Will's just done. He's just like, how are we keeping this going?
Disapproving sigh. I'm just gonna say it.
Oh my god,
this is great. This is giving me a lot of things to Photoshop tomorrow.
Cactus Jack is Sandoval.
I could see that. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's cool.
Masked fan as masked fan.
Max fan as himself.
He's the only one of
Got
us
him
with
out
like
there.
any kind of acting chops that could probably do it. So.
J Cal's popping in to tell Stinson that Braves got Puig.
Yeah. Yeah. Braves signed Yasiel Puig yesterday, I think, or late last night.
I didn't even know that.
So that's cool. The last major free agent on the market. So hopefully that'll have implications for the postseason. You know, I did my math, and Will and I actually sat down today and worked out the algorithm. Braves should end up winning this thing in 6 games in the World Series.
See, my boy Daniel, I've been telling y'all about. He's like a major Braves fan too. Yeah, y'all gonna get me back into the Braves.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen.
Right around the time they like kill off the tomahawk chop, and then
Yeah.
Rob's like,
Rob's still going.
Stephanie
I'm the least woke person of the 3 of us, so I'm holding on to the chop.
the least woke.
Yeah.
Or the most asleep. However you want.
Yeah, comfortable.
Oh, that's it. Stephanie McMahon as Maureen. I can see it. Go Astros. If you're not cheating, you're not trying, says Brian Rosa.
That's good.
Is there really that much of a delay, or did
No, Rob's just
Gary?
Rob's still reading his magazine. He's not with us.
Rob, why are you reading that damn magazine right now? We're doing a live show.
Bro,
Listen,
I'm not,
I got a
look,
question.
my magazine's over here, man.
You don't have to show us. I got a question. This is just I know this is not a big thing in the NWA, and I'm fine with it. But wrestler entrance music is one of my favorite things for growing up. That was like my favorite part. And I know they have music in the pay-per-views, right? In the NWA pay-per-views.
Yes.
Don't both answer
Yes.
at the same time.
Yes, they do. They do.
So yeah, I mean, but I'm a big fan of wrestler entrance music. So I don't have, like I'm not upset that it's not there, because for Powerrr, it's obviously not needed. But if you were going to pick an existing song to be your entrance music, and this is open to everyone in the chat too, what would that song be?
And that's a really good segue into our deep dive discussion on the Freebirds right now. So I would.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I picked a song the other day when I was on Jay-Z Flair's show. They make you like, part of their deal is they're very professional over there, but they make you pick a song to be your entrance theme. And nobody's ever asked me that before, and I was like real put off by that. So I was like, oh God, there's so many songs that it could be. But they have a song there's a song by Everclear, which I know is crazy. This is like late 90s. But it's called, thank you, Brian Rosa. Brian Rosa's. Yeah, I thought we were friends, but sure, Barney theme song. Anyway, Everclear has a song called El Distorto de Melodica. And it has always, my whole life, when I've heard that song, sounded like a wrestler's entrance theme music, and I always thought it was kind of cool. So I always picked that.
We're picking our own theme song here.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, okay. I'd go with the Chariots of Fire. Something kind of classic, something like similar to like Nick Aldis or a Ric Flair type theme song, Oh, he's looking. Look, Gary's looking up Chariots of Fire. He's never heard of it.
I was gonna see if I could play it If I had the ability to
Play that.
play it through the speakers. Does that sound like it?
I don't hear anything. Rob, just do it a cappella.
That's it. Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
Yes.
Ding, 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 ding. I also thought like the Imperial Death March would be good too. For Will, that's from a film series called Star Wars.
Okay, that's with the hobbits.
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you guys hear any of that?
No. That's why Rob was doing it with his mouth.
Okay.
Stop. I love Jake Cal says it feels like this the rails are coming off this train. This must be his first after party. This is how it goes, brother.
Why is it so hard to share like my
reference? That's a subtle reference to Crazy Train. He's making a Chipper Jones reference there, guys.
Oh, okay.
And an Ozzy Osbourne reference.
I don't know why I can't just play music on this thing. It's real bummer.
McDermott, nice. Beethoven's Fifth. Heck yeah, man. Love it. I always like the Linkin Park Jay-Z version of Numb Encore too. I think that'd be cool.
Oh, shut up.
I thought Rob and I were in a feud, but it seems like you two guys are in a feud. I guess Rob.
No, man, we're all just in a feud. That's what keeps it interesting. Hey, listen, straight up, like best theme music. Like I thought was like the most badass theme music. That's like especially a popular song was like when Sting came out to Seek and Destroy. Like I thought that was off the chain. Like I thought Seek and Destroy with Sting was just the coolest theme music. And it bums me out because I keep wanting to revisit that, and stupid network like changed the music and it's some dinky like garbage entrance. It's like every ECW show you watch on there, because I went back and for a while there when I had the network, I was like trying to roll through all the ECW because I wasn't allowed to watch like especially the early parts of it, and I was trying to go back through it, and I was like, I think Sandman had Enter Sandman as his entrance, but that definitely is not the song that's playing when Sandman comes out. It's like the most generic garbage. Yeah, it's like it's just so terrible. And you're like, wow, man, these people are getting wild right now for some like just some doo-doo music. They're just getting real crunk about it. Just like singing along and just like pumping their fists. It's just like the worst thing you've ever heard.
Rob, what's your favorite entrance music of all time? Is it Ric Flair?
It's hard to go against Iron Man with the Road Warriors.
That's good.
That's tough. I always like Bad Street USA. I think to me, I'm a big Freebirds fan, so I like that one. Of course, Flair's is iconic, but best of all time has to be the Road Warriors. Also, like I know Brian Rose is here, and I'm not trying to just continue to like curry favor with him, but I thought like the drum beats that Thunder Rosa would come to, you know what I'm talking about? I thought that was intense, man. Mm-hmm. She comes to the ring with those pounding drums. I thought that was dope.
Yeah, that was interesting, especially like it made her stand out like on the episodes of Power when nobody else had entrance music, and for some reason when like Rosa was in the ring, like she had these like drums going on. Yeah, I mean, Cult of Personality is the one. I mean, I feel like I'm being obvious, but that's a solid one. Like for when you heard that kick in, that was a big one for CM Punk. I loved Bret Hart's intro music I always thought it was badass. Also, Ultimate Warriors, by the way. And when you hear that, yeah, that's good stuff
James
too.
Lawrence mentioned
Jot down
Lamb
that
of God
timestamp.
here, boy.
Thank you, Will, for writing that down.
James Lawrence throwing out Lamb of God, man. He's speaking my stuff now, man. That's one of my favorite bands. You don't hear a lot of Lamb of God fans out there. One of my favorite bands ever, going back to my military days. My old platoon sergeant, Sergeant Huber. I was the platoon leader. He was a platoon sergeant. And when we do PT in the morning, somehow Lamb of God would always make our PT workout list, you know. And I've been a Lamb of God fan since. So just came out with a new record this last month, and it's amazing. But cool, love that, James Lawrence.
I think Iron Man's probably top of my list too. It's a newer one, not as classic, but man, Aleister Black's theme song. Have you guys heard that?
He's got a good entrance. I don't actually to him since he left NXT really that much, but is he still doing like the whole like raising up and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know. I think so, but I mean, his theme music it hits hard. I like it. It's been on.
You know, like CM Punk's first music, and I can't remember who did it before he got Cult of Personality. What was it called? It was Killswitch Engage, I think, is who did it. And but it was like Randy Orton had it originally, and he turned it down. So then they threw it to CM Punk to use with him, and he kept it for forever until he, got enough stock to use Cult of Personality or whatever. But that was a pretty cool song too, though.
There's a good question from Front Row. So, what entrances do you think best represented the wrestlers' characters?
I mean, I guess stands out right off the top of my head is got to be Ultimate Warrior and his entrance. Like it's just wild, just craziness. I mean, him and the Road Warriors. So, and I'm sure they model after each other, but both seem to have this just like, you knew what was coming when they came down. Like in Ultimate Warrior was just all over the place, just like his music, just like his entrance, just whatever. But and the Road Warriors had that like just kind of like steady, like driving, like we're destroying.
Yeah. Also, always kind of liked Coco Beware's Hey the Bird, he'd come out to, and then Simply Ravishing to Rick Rude, man. That joke was Rick Rude was money, boy. He'd come out there.
I gotta give. I see Shawn Michaels.
Say what you gotta say.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, dude. I was trying to talk. I thought you had stopped. I wasn't looking. I just saw like Brian Rosa threw in "I'm an Ass Man" by Billy Gunn, and that just like still that song still gets in my head. I'm an ass man. Brr, brr. I'm an ass man. Brr, brr. Oh God, Will's writing that down too. Oh man.
This is great. Let's keep that going. I would say too. It doesn't come up a lot in conversation, but I think the NWO. I mean, the
Voodoo Child. Yeah,
the main. Even the little.
Talking about the
the little remix. That I think that was a fitting. That kind of just felt, and maybe it's just because looking back, I just associate that with the NWO, that vibe. But to me, that entrance kind of fit. I mean, it was just this rebel, this chopped up remix, and he just was, playing the air guitar and all that.
That's a good point. And Scooby brings up Stone Cold, and that's hard to beat. Like, I mean, for the same reason the Road Warriors were, just the glass hits. Yeah. You're just like, it's 100%. The bump, like that. Just, I don't know. It just felt right. Like that just got. There's nothing fancy, steady, just beat. Like this guy's coming. He's coming to kill you, and that's it. Somebody said JBLs. I still remember JBL stated out that That was fun.
I think the Nation of Domination had a pretty good entrance too. It was very ominous, when they would come out. Very intimidating. And the Brood. We can't skip over the Brood. My gosh.
Well, especially like if you're talking about entrances that make the characters or that like really fit the characters. I mean, the Brood had that definite like with what they're supposed to be, like the rising from the stage and stuff like that. That's good stuff. Yeah, Mick Foley's theme. I like that front row. Just the car crash sound, and then it's just a fun theme all around. Always dug that entrance. Man, I don't feel like people like have. I don't know. Maybe they do. Will just mentioned Aleister Black, but I remember caring about like Batista's. Like I had his old entrance going down, but Adam Cole like has like a really cool entrance for like a newer guy. Like it's really solid.
I like what's his name, Karrion Kross and Scarlett Bordeaux's entrance. That's pretty cool. I mean, they do. It's a whole spectacle when they come out on NXT. And of course, and of course, the Undertaker, man, it's timeless too. It's up there with Stone Cold and the Road Warriors and.
Yeah, as far as the whole package, like the total package entrance, Undertaker's top of the line. Like that's hard to beat. And Real American with Hulk Hogan is like that. And
yeah.
I don't know. Well, guys, we're probably getting ready to wrap this thing up. So some of us have to work tomorrow. And Will's got plenty of ammunition to use against me later. And Rob already hates me.
I got everything I need. Thank you.
If you guys got anything else you want to talk about, now's the time to say it. Otherwise, old Artie Stinson, at Artie Stinson, at Hey It's Will with one L, at This Is Gary Horn. Am I saying any of it wrong? No. Rob, you look like you were just sick of me, and I'm sorry that I pushed you too far today.
Let's settle this in the ring.
I still hadn't gotten over Randy Orton, man.
I'm so sorry that I pushed you too far. It's the tequila, honestly. I'm out. No, I've made it through a few episodes, but now I'm out. That's why Will's not drinking proper 12 tonight. Anyway, Bud Light. All right. Hey, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. NWA is the best. Terry McDermott. We appreciate all of you so much. It's been fun. It's been fun knowing that, like, even when we get to these later parts, like when we have like the set plan of things to talk about, rather than just rambling and hanging out live, there's always, it seems like, more people that come in for like the BS part, which is just interesting to me. So it's been fun just chilling with you guys, just shooting the breeze about whatever. And thank you guys for doing this. Tell all your friends about us if you like hanging out. And sorry, Rob, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you
that's
off.
what it's about. No, that's what it's about, man. We're just buddies hanging out with you guys. You guys are our friends. And, this is a lot of fun. This, the podcast portion is great. We hope people learn from it, and we learn from it as well. But I look forward to this part just as much, man. Just to hanging out and shooting the bull and just having fun and cutting up and roasting each other. That's what buds are about, man.
Yeah, and I mean we're in this hiatus period, and I think it's more important than ever for us as the hashtag NWA fam to gather like this couple times a week and just talk about wrestling. Even if we don't have current NWA wrestling to talk about, we're going to do our best as a team to put together something like we did tonight that can stir a conversation, and then we might sit around and talk about wrestling theme music for a while. But it's just good to hang out with the NWA fam to keep the community strong. And I think Gary and J Cal or somebody mentioned it last week, but we're kind of keeping this spot warm for when NWA returns, and J Cal at 5 o'clock and 2 p.m. Pacific, and then us at 8:30. Just keeping the Talk NWA and the NWA fam chat going. So thank y'all for hanging out. We really appreciate it. It's a highlight of my week. I don't know how y'all feel about it, but I love it.
I do it because I have to.
Gary has contractual obligations.
No, we do appreciate you guys, and honestly, like, listen, if you don't realize it, WWE Front Row saying it right there in the chat. Let's keep that NWA conversation going. That's what we're trying to do. Also, you see the logo behind us here. We're just keeping the flame alive until we get some actual NWA content. We're willing to talk to you guys about any wrestling. We talk about all of it. We try to do a focus on NWA, though, because we all deep down inside are hashtag NWA fam. And we love you guys. We love just hanging out and talking to you. We just like having a crew of people to just hang out and just talk. Yeah, that's it, man. And that's what we all need right now, I think. And this is the best way to do it. So, no, by all means, just please tell other people about us. Come hang out with us anytime. If you have ideas of what we could do that you'd like to see, send it to us, DM us, whatever. Let us know. We want to know. We want to hear from you guys. You guys are part of this NWA fam, part of this community. It's one big family. So we hope to hear from you guys. We hope to see you again next time. Rob, you got anything you want to add? I don't want to step on your toes. I know you get real bitchy about that.
No, man, I was just going to plug we are doing the Manscaped live stream later this week. Nah, man, I love you guys, man. This is always it's like by the time Tuesday night, by the time Tuesday is over, like I'm over it. But then Wednesday I miss my bugs again, and we only get to do this twice a week. Of course, we converse throughout the week too, and most of us talk at some level on social media and all that. But we look forward to this every week, man. It's a blessing to hang out with you guys, and y'all just be safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, thank you all for being here. Just make sure you hit subscribe. Tell anybody you can about us. Let's all hang out again. Sunday's the next live stream, but stay tuned. Who knows what else is coming? Until then, enjoy your gravy cake.